In fact,
Right.
look at my jacket, nigga. How about that?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm Kyrie Irving, and he just happened to play for the Nets right now.
Nice.
Homeboy. They got me fired up in here in the studio about these Texans. We're going to get on this, man.
Oh, yeah, we definitely got to talk
Yeah,
about
Jay.
that.
I can't wait.
You in the city? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't even get the intro up. I'm so they didn't got me going up in here, man.
Mad, they talking crazy about the Texans.
Yeah, man, they got me hyped, man. Chuck
Well,
made
we
some good points,
just
man.
happy that DeMeco Ryan's got the job.
Telling everybody. I just keep
Right.
telling everybody the intentions are not good. They had to take this route.
It's not bullshit, okay? It's real talk, it's facts.
What up? Welcome to another episode of Debate with Bait, brought to you by Most Serious Entertainment in the heart of Most City, Texas. I'm your host with your most. Of course, your boy, Mr. Charles Baker, a.k.a. C. Bake. That's my co-host, Gerard Cole, a.k.a. Cole, a.k.a. Rude Boy, a.k.a. New York Nick Boy. What's up, Cole?
I'm over here chilling, man. No complaints, you know. It's another day. Finally got some snow on the ground in New York City for the first time. Longest drought ever.
Oh, that's not good. Well, before we get started, man, we also got on with us tonight is my boy Jason Campbell, man. Brought him in again. He came in on the other podcast with us, so we wanted to get him back in today, talk about football, talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, the Houston Texans. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's going on? Appreciate you for having me. Man, it's going to be a great podcast.
Yes,
Word,
sir. Yes, sir.
It will.
Before we get started, let's make sure that you follow Most Serious Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to Most Serious Entertainment on YouTube. Well, fellas, without further ado, let's get into it, man. We got a lot to talk about. In particular, let's get into it. NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game. Let's start with the NFC Championship game. The Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, dominated, Mr. Cole, and I use that word, dominated the San Francisco 49ers 31-9. A domination performance.
Oh, boy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And reason why I say dominating, ladies and gentlemen, Philly outlasted San Francisco in several categories. Had a conversation with Cole out off the air, and he did not agree with me that the Eagles dominated the 49ers. But let's give a little bit of proof to prove Mr. Cole wrong before we bring him in and Mr. Campbell in on this discussion. But the Philadelphia Eagles had six first downs, while San Francisco only had 4. The Philadelphia Eagles rushed for 12. Well, they had 12 first downs, and San Francisco had, I believe, 5. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated, had no turnovers, and the San Francisco 49ers had 3. Time of possession, Philly was winning that again, dominating again, like I said, with 37 minutes and 26 seconds to San Francisco only having 22 minutes and 34 seconds. Not to mention that San Francisco total yards in the game was 269. Philly was 269, while San Francisco was 164. And not to mention Cole, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, didn't Philadelphia knock out 2 quarterbacks in this game? So, Cole, you give me your assessment on this game as to why you don't think the San Francisco 49ers, or rather the Philadelphia Eagles, dominated the San Francisco 49ers, sir.
Well, I personally don't think they dominated. I think they won. which they were supposed to do. I look at it as in, you see when you was like 10 years old, you used to play ball at the courts, and then you used to play some older cats, cats that are like, 18, 19, 20, supposed to win. Look at the age gap, look at the experience gap, look at everything. Look at the strength, the grown man. You playing a grown man versus a little, elementary, junior high school kid. And I just felt like Purdy going down, which he was playing really, really well before, but Purdy going down, and he was also a rookie, was the start of it. And then you had journeymen who played for almost every team in the NFL. I think he played for almost every team in the NFL. Philly was supposed to do that. There was nothing dominating about that. Before that turnover in the first half, the game was only decided by 7 points. And that defense was holding it down. If that turnover didn't happen, it could have been a field goal. The whole complexity of the game could have probably changed a little bit. They would have still won. They would have still won because Josh was looking bad. I'm telling you that. But there was no domination there. That was just a great win that they were supposed to have. But I don't say it's domination. We don't have a quarterback.
I'm gonna be honest. I have to disagree. That was domination.
That was domination.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say that because you hit the nail on the head where you said the metaphor of you go into the park and you playing against the older cats and they're supposed to win, and then sometimes you take your lumps and they beat you so bad, whereas you getting skunked and you say, I got to come back better than before. But that game right there, when Purdy got hurt, everybody, the wind just deflated. But the defense might hold it down. Mm-hmm. But Philly is no joke. Philly is no joke. We know Philly is their number one seed for a reason. But then when Johnson gets hurt, and like you said, he's played for like 13, 14 teams in 13 years. It's ridiculous. He comes in and he gets hurt. And when everybody recognized that Purdy, he's back and he can't throw. He threw one pass, and they just run the ball on fourth down, like 4th and 8 or something weird like that. It was like it's over, and you almost feel bad for them, because there's nothing that they can do. So they took their licks, and some frustration spilled over with Big Trent, and some ejections, but that's just that frustration of guys competing and wanting a better outcome than what happened.
Thank you.
So
There's probably somebody with some reason.
Do you think that outcome would have been the same had they would have had Garoppolo or any, quarterback that could have just done better?
Well, what Garoppolo does, in my opinion, is he knows how to manage a game. Like if you want Garoppolo to come out and throw for 335 and 4 touches, that's really not what's going to happen with Garoppolo. But I think that sometimes the reads he makes is just safe. It gets the first down. It keeps the clock moving. And, that battle of time of possession and can it be a field goal here, a field goal there? I don't know if it would have been different. I mean, if San Fran would have won, but I'm sure the score would have been a lot closer than that.
No, I agree, which is why I don't feel that it was a dominant performance. I just think they played against the cards they were dealt with, and they did what they were supposed to do. That's not dominant to me. Dominant was what New England did when they went undefeated the whole season to the Super Bowl. That's domination. And don't get me wrong, because I was the first person to tell you that Philly, and it's probably episode 2 or 3, that they would go to the Super Bowl and probably win. Although I felt like at the end of the season, the 49ers just hit a certain stride, and I feel like they've always been the most physical team in football, probably the last 3 years. And they have a way of dominating both lines of scrimmages and imposing their will onto teams. And I felt like that could have happened, and they could have made Philly play into their style in that slow, grinded out game had they had a quarterback. But I will give it to you that they won this game convincingly, but it wasn't dominant. It was just what they were supposed to do.
Let me back up, because you were on record last week saying you did, and you admitted to it, that you were picking the 49ers to go in there. And I said that it was possible. But I also told you this. And I want you to respond to this, because I really would like, I got 2 questions, but let me ask this first. What is your definition of domination? Because here's the thing. The game was 31-9, okay? And I felt like Philadelphia could have done more, but they kind of took their foot off the gas at the end. How is it not a dominant performance when you knock out two of the quarterbacks on that team? Because you sit here and say, you say, well, Purdy wasn't there. And then you ask Jason the question, do you think if Garoppolo would have been there? But here's the thing. Why are we not giving Philadelphia's defense credit for, like, isn't that what you want to do as a defense? I mean, I don't want to sound like Bountygate, but don't you want to knock the other team's quarterback out of the game, the starting quarterback? So explain this to me. How is that not dominant?
I'll give you a better example, because I'm going to go to your sport, boxing. I felt like what Philly did was what Mike Tyson used to do. He used to knock you out, beginning of the match, boom, fight is over. I feel like dominance is what Mayweather does. When he beats you up round after round, getting points, round after round, there's nothing you could do. You're trying to counter, you're trying to come at something, you can't figure him out, you can't hit him, you can't get no points after that third round. That's when he starts to dominate. He's dominating his whole career.
Okay. So let's stay right there with that example of boxing. Now I want to put you in a boxing coach's shoes. If you know that your fighter can knock somebody out, would you not encourage them to knock somebody out? Wouldn't that be a dominant performance versus you got to box somebody for 12 rounds? Like, wouldn't you not want to crush your opponent? Isn't knocking somebody out crushing your opponent? Isn't that kind of like domination? I get what you're saying to a certain extent, but since you want to use the boxing example,
you're not proving anything to me, and I think it was relevant. I think you could see that when Tyson got later into his career, he really couldn't box. He couldn't. I felt like if he didn't knock you out early, he didn't have the stamina of a boxer. He didn't display the skills needed to beat the top of the line boxers like Holyfield and everyone else at the time. I feel like he didn't display dominance. He used the fear factor, and I think that's what was happening in the game this past weekend. It was a fear factor. Now we're scared. We don't have nothing to do. We have no counters for this person because we don't have no quarterback.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and then we'll get to the Kansas City game, because I'm not going to agree with you on this, but I want to ask.
Warriors dominated for years with Kevin Durant. That's dominating.
Let me ask you another question. Okay, so what more could have the Eagles done for it to be a dominant performance that they didn't do?
I would have, if they would have played someone like Dallas or
no. I am not gonna let you do this on this episode. I'm not asking you about Dallas. Lord Jesus, will this man please? This is why we call this show Debate with Bait, because you got to debate now. I want to know. I don't want to know about Dallas. I want to know what the Eagles could have done more in your book, in your definition of domination, to make their performance dominant for you.
I think
what more could they have not done? Or what more could they?
The only thing that would have made the performance dominant to me is if their quarterback would have never got injured and it was a fair fight from the beginning.
Oh my God, you're not making.
That's the only way. I can't give them that. They did what they were supposed to do.
Because they knocked out the quarterback. Listen to what you're saying. So because they knocked out their quarterback, one of their best players, this is not a dominant performance to you.
So here's my question to you. Do you think that who was it that got injured? Was it Kyrie Irving the year that they played the finals against the Warriors? Do you consider that a dominant performance? The fact that, Kyrie Irving got injured and they played against LeBron James without Kyrie Irving?
You serious right now?
Was that a dominant performance? I can't consider that a dominant performance because they weren't at 100%.
So what you're saying is
you need to be at 100% to consider it a dominant performance.
Okay, so you're going to criticize me for beating you because your star player wasn't on the floor. You're going to say that I didn't
criticize it. I'm just saying it's not a dominant performance. You did what
so what you're saying is, so here's what you're saying. You're saying this because Kyrie Irving wasn't on the court. We got to put an asterisk next to the Warriors or whoever they lost to and say they didn't dominate them because Kyrie wasn't there. That's your definition of dominance.
They did what they were supposed to do. I feel like in order for you to say you dominated someone, I would love to see them 100%. That's like me fighting Mayweather right now with he has two broken hands. I beat him and I say, yeah, I dominated him. He couldn't hit me. He couldn't do anything to me.
but he was in the ring.
But
Cole.
he wasn't 100%. That's not domination. That's a handicap going on right there.
So what you're saying is, you're saying my performance can't be dominant because you wasn't 100%.
Your performance, I'm acknowledging the performance, saying it was a great performance. They did what they were supposed to do, but I can't consider that dominant if it's handicapped. That's just my opinion of dominance. When I think of dominance, I think of, okay, both teams is 100%. Everyone's there. Wow, you just beat them with Tom Brady.
But don't you realize this? The reason why the Niners weren't 100% is because Philadelphia knocked their quarterbacks out of the game. That's not dominating. That's the reason why they're like, I'll even give you some room on your Kyrie example. Okay, he got hurt. But the reason why Purdy wasn't in the game is because the Philadelphia defense got to the quarterback. Is that not dominating a team? Is that not a defensive line dominating the offensive line?
That was a missed assignment. That was a missed assignment.
It happens,
I'm just saying. I gotta call a spade a spade. That was a missed assignment. No one blocked Riddick on that one.
Okay, let me ask you this, Jason, then we'll go to the next game. You're a coach. If you coach that Philadelphia defense,
yes,
what is your talk to them after the game? What are you saying? I know you're saying great job.
Great job, absolutely. Great job. Again, like you said, you did what you're supposed to do, but I'm giving y'all kudos. I'm giving y'all mad props. But look, we got enough. I'm not even gonna speak on trying to knock somebody else out the game coming up in 2 weeks, but that is the goal, because I know that guy you have in right now, if the next guy comes in, is nowhere near the same. And if your guys are able to get those hits and they're clean, then feel free. So I'm sorry, but Philly's D-line is solid.
Exactly. It is. Why are we taking away from them saying that they didn't dominate the 49ers when the defensive line affected the game by knocking out one starting quarterback, a quarterback who came in, a team who came in. I think this kid was on a 7-0 winning streak under Shanahan. And just like I told you, don't be surprised that this defense will be able to get to him. I want to see what he does when he gets put in adversity. And so we're going to sit here and say, or Cole's going to sit here and say, the defense didn't dominate. And what else? That's what I'm saying. But what else could they have not done? They did what every defense wants you to do. They want you to get pressure on the quarterback. They want you to sack the quarterback. They want you to disrupt his rhythm. When you disrupt the quarterback, when a team is riding a winning streak like the 49ers, you cut the head off. The head is Purdy. You knock him out of the game. How is that not dominating? You're taking the best player on their team or on their offense, or the most, I'm not going to say the best player, but the most valuable player, and you're taking him out of the game.
But Baker, he was 4 for 4, and he only played 5 downs, 6 downs?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I don't think you could really judge the game on that. I think you could. I'm definitely giving kudos. That defense is real. That team is real. They did what they were supposed to do. I'm not taking credit away from how great they are. I'm just saying I don't consider that a dominant performance because they did what they were supposed to do against a G League team once the quarterback went down. That's a G League team.
All right. Let's get to the
quarterback is everything.
Let's get to the Chiefs game. Let me ask this question. And then we're gonna go to Mahomes. If you don't get pressure on Mahomes, okay, if Mahomes is allowed to sit back there and do what Mahomes does, he improvises. He's got a hell of an arm for talent. If you don't get pressure on him, if you sack him and he gets hurt, isn't that not what you want your defense to do if they can? I mean, I'm not saying bounty gate. I'm not saying going in there intentionally, but and I'll even go back to
we're saying the same thing.
I'll go back to the Super Bowl against the Bucks. You know why the Bucks won that game? Because they were able to get to Mahomes and they were able to disrupt him. Okay, so I feel like you're taking credit away from Philadelphia's defense.
We're saying
it is a dominant performance.
I think got dominated that game.
I think I'm agreeing what you're saying. I'm just saying
because you're not calling it a dominant performance.
The reason why I don't consider it a dominant performance, it happened like 3 minutes into the game. Like I could see if they did that the whole game.
So let's give credit to the defense. Let's give credit to the defense.
Baker, if they dominate the whole game and Purdy played the whole, even if he played all the way into the fourth quarter, then got hurt, I'd be like, yo, damn, they dominated. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't do it.
You're just gonna have to
hurt going 4 for 4.
Disagree because you were wrong on your prediction and you don't want to admit
I'm fine with that.
Let's get to the AFC Championship game because you're not gonna let this go. All right. But you're
great
wrong.
Game, not dominant. It's great
you're
game.
You're wrong. They are dominant. Kansas City Chiefs edge out the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20. Mahomes' numbers, despite a high ankle sprain, include the following: 29 for 43 passes for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now think about this, and I want to ask you guys this question. And I know people are going to say I'm getting ahead of the horse, but I'm glad we got Jason on here, and I'm glad we got Cole on here too. But consider this. Have we seen, I want to ask you guys both this question. Have we seen anything like this, the way Pat Mahomes has played? Have we seen any quarterback play like this within his first 5 years in the NFL? And the reason why, when I asked this question, and I'm thinking about this championship game, the high ankle sprain, in that game, he lost Kadarius Toney. He lost Juju Smith-Schuster. He lost McCole Hardman. I may be saying that name. Mm-hmm. And he's got a league MVP. He's got a Super Bowl. He's been to the Super Bowl twice. I had this discussion the other day about him I think he possibly can be on track to be the GOAT. Now, I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm going off what I see with my eyes. But when I think about how he played this game, and again, I kept telling you both, the reason why I kept him in my MVP discussion is because, again, you don't lose a receiver like Tyreek Hill and get back to the Super Bowl. Considering that in this performance, all these receivers that he lost, he's got an NFL MVP. He's going back to his second Super Bowl, or is it his third Super Bowl? I can't remember. Third Super Bowl.
One lost one.
Right. Mm-hmm. 2 questions, and I'll go back to it. Number 1. Have we seen anybody play better than this in their first 5 years in the NFL? And if he wins, should he even be in the discussion of a GOAT this early? I'll let you both go ahead. Jason, you go first. Then we go to Cole.
So just to put it out there, when Peyton Manning first came into the league, he had a rough first year. I want to say he was 4-12, but then that second year he was 12-4. I want to say off memory, I might be wrong, something like that. You know how it is when a rookie comes in.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes' first year, he sat the whole year behind Alex Smith, and he lost a bunch of games, but he had a great opportunity to learn, which they don't do that much anymore.
Okay, so let me rephrase that. Let me say when he stepped on the field and became a starting quarterback. Let me say that because he did sit on the bench. You're right. Go ahead.
So the real answer is kind of, because he has some amazing stats and fewer games played. But like for instance, I know you have a Dan Marino out there who threw for crazy numbers, right? But Dan Marino played more games and Peyton Manning threw for more yards, but he's only played 2 more games, right? Something along those lines. But Pat Mahomes, his complete body of work.
That's what I mean. The accomplishments, everything, right?
Because Marino only went to the Super Bowl once. And I want to say that was his rookie year. Peyton Manning didn't go to the Super Bowl for a minute.
And then didn't Mahomes have a league MVP? Did he have a league MVP one year?
League MVP, and then won the Super Bowl the next year. And then again they lost to the Bucs, and then now they're, last year they lost to Cincinnati, and here they are, they're back. And there was that controversy it's fun to look at the Chiefs and go, man, we're used to it. Now we're getting annoyed that they praising Mahomes so much. The new guy, here's Burrow, the new guy, Josh Allen was first, and Burrow, and even Lamar. They want somebody else, but nobody has been this consistent
Exactly.
that I've seen that I can think of this good, this consistent for this many years without that drop. You know, because he's been throwing for 5,000 yards almost every year. That was almost unheard of back then.
Exactly. I mean, Cole, what you think? I mean, is it legit?
I think it's legit because the thing that came to my mind was Peyton Manning was one of the first people that came to my mind. Tom Brady was also, you know, right off the bat, like good from the beginning when he started that playoff game. But a person that no one's really talking about is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers came out after Brett Favre left and has been pretty consistent throughout his career. He's had 4 most valuable players. He has an NFL Super Bowl MVP and regular MVP, 10 Pro Bowls. He has 4 NFL passing rating leaders, where he led that category in passing rating. He's been great. He's the all-decade team. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. And I think that when you couple best of all time, to me, I think is Brady by record in Super Bowls, but I do think Mahomes has a chance to surpass him.
But let me say this about Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I get what you're saying about yards, but like Jason said, and I'm glad you brought that up. Now, what year is Mahomes in right now, Jason? What is he in?
I want to say this is 5.
This is 5. Okay, so was that his first year? He didn't start, and then the next year he started. So right now, this is his 3rd Super Bowl, Cole. Now, one knock I have against Aaron Rodgers, and I think Aaron Rodgers for a long time was the best quarterback in the league, on a more consistent basis, you know. But the thing about Rodgers, and the big knock about Rodgers, and even the national media, is he's a regular season quarterback. That's what I'm telling you about Mahomes. For Mahomes, and in particular this year with this performance, high ankle sprain, losing 3 receivers. You know, again, I keep beating this drum, but again, I'm telling you, if Tyreek Hill is on your team and you lose, think about that. The most feared, maybe most feared offensive weapon in the league right now is Tyreek Hill. No doubt in my mind. Now, that's an opinion. You can, I mean, you could say the kid from Cincinnati, you could say the kid from Minnesota, you know, that's arguable. But at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill, to me, kind of helped Miami get over that threshold of getting into the playoffs. I mean, Tua was banged up, but, you know, that was the determining factor to me to get in the postseason. But the thing about Rodgers is he has failed in the playoffs. Now, I know what you're going to say, Cole, it's a team game. I get it. But think about what Mahomes is doing, okay? And again, this year in particular, and I kept telling you, and I agree, I think Jalen Hurts deserves to be the NFL most valuable player this year. But I always tell you, and I told Jason when he came on, you can always put Mahomes in that conversation. Because at the end of the day, what's going on with Kansas City right now, one of the main reasons, and that defensive line, I have to give them, you know, Chris Jones and them credit. But the main reason, and when you talk about everything from what Mahomes does as far as yards, as far as touchdowns, but one thing that I think Mahomes has over Rodgers is the intangibles. That team believes in him. The same thing we talked about with Jalen Hurts. The Eagles believe in him. The intangibles, the type of guy he is. Those guys believe in him. Jalen walks it every day in practice. They believe him as a leader. One knock, and I love Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. One knock I have against Aaron Rodgers is sometimes, to me, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't know if the team, if the city values him as a leader. He's a great player, great talent, great arm, maybe one of the best arms I've ever seen, and he's pretty athletic. You know what I'm saying? But when I saw Mahomes in that interview after the game, and you see how excited those guys are, and think about this, Cole. He played that game with a high ankle sprain. And there was some reports that said that they offered him a shot and he didn't take it. for him to go out there and do what he did, it gave that team so much confidence. And so Aaron Rodgers is comparable. But when you look at, like Jason said, the body of work what Mahomes is doing, I think a lot of people are sleeping on that because they're used to him winning. But if you look at what he's doing, you know, to me, Cincinnati had a better team than Kansas City. You know,
and I'm gonna touch on your point, Bate. If you look at what the Chiefs defense did to Cincinnati, that first quarter, I want to say Cincinnati had almost no yards, which is crazy with all the weapons. Higgins is a monster at receiver.
Yes.
Right. And you already know Jamar Chase is a outright dog out there.
Yes.
And I can't think of the tight end's name right now, who's always open and catches everything.
Yes.
Not to mention their run game is solid. But the Chiefs came out and they showed their aggression early, and they set the tone. And what Cincinnati did was they held the Chiefs to 3, to one touch late. And all of a sudden it was, but the Chiefs are always winning at the half. This is what's going to always happen. The Bengals will come back and win it. And this time, I know there's a lot of, the officials screwed everybody else, screwed them over and so forth. But at the end of the day, somebody's always going to be mad at the officials, right? Always. But the Chiefs held it down with their defense, and Patrick Mahomes did what he was supposed to do. He didn't throw any picks. Burrow threw 2 picks to 2 rookies at that, and I'm sorry, but Patrick Mahomes wins. And I know what you said. You said it is not just a Burrow versus, Mahomes, because those two, both quarterbacks, they don't play defense. But at the end of the day, those 2 picks could have easily come away with a 3 twice at the end of those drives, and that could have made all the difference. So the pass interference, not the pass interference, but the shove out of bounds late, that changes the game completely. But that's football. That's why it's a team game. Like, you can be mad at that young man all he wanted. He was trying to make a play. It was obviously a bonehead play. You don't touch a star quarterback, especially not this junkie. You don't do that. And that's 15, ball game. But I really think that Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers, the difference is Aaron Rodgers been to the Super Bowl once. He did get the MVP. He was there once, and he keeps getting to the NFC Championship game, but could not get another W. And it's almost how people tease the Dallas Cowboys for, they're going to win 1 game max, and that's it. So I don't know. That's what I hang over Aaron Rodgers.
So here's my question to y'all then. They both have the same amount of Super Bowls, right?
Who was that?
Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes got the same amount of Super Bowls.
Oh, as far as wins?
Yeah, as far as wins.
Okay, all right.
You can't say appearances.
Yeah, we can't say that. Okay.
If we base it off appearances, then you got to start putting Jim Kelly up there. So we're not going to go off appearance. We're going to go towards the end of their career.
Okay.
If he doesn't win another championship, is he better than Aaron Rodgers? Because
yes,
he has 4 MVPs under his belt.
Yes.
He has 10 Pro Bowls under his belt.
Yes. Yes. And that's that. Yes. And I'm telling you this, we can go stat for stat. We can go stat for stat, but I'm not going to go stat for stat. I'm just going off of what I see.
And to add to that, I will say the only dominant, unless you want to count Donald Driver,
here we go,
and Cobb, the only dominant receiver he ever had was Adams.
Okay. Well, let's talk.
Has Kelsey. And Kelsey's probably the best tight end since Aaron Hernandez and Gronk.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's
and you see how he dominates games, and then you still had Tyreek Hill for some time.
Okay, but
then they had Hunt, who was killing at the running back, and then they had Hilaire, who was killing at the running back, and they were probably top 5 running backs when they were healthy.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's go off of just opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So in the playoffs, okay, let's just say Mahomes never wins another Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Do you consider Aaron Rodgers a good playoff performer? his postseason stats, what he does, do you consider him a good playoff performer?
If you get into the NFC Championship game, I gotta say yes. And he's lost by
How many times has he gotten to the NFC Championship game?
Let me look that up. I want to say he did it at least 4 times, at least. I know he did the played the Saints.
Oh, that's a stretch.
I think he's made it like
you sure you're not thinking about you thinking about Joe Montana or somebody else, something like that?
He just last I think he lost to the 49ers once. I think he lost to the Saints once.
Okay, look it up for me, because you know what? I think my computer's not working.
Hold on.
Because what you telling me, I told Chuck this, I need to buy another laptop, but I'm not sure if he made it 4 times to the NFC Championship game.
I'm gonna look that up myself.
I'm not sure about that. I think Cole is, and it's a debate. It's debate with Bake. You do your debate. You put, so 4 times. I don't know about that. I don't.
Can I throw this out there real quick?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Aaron Rodgers, Donald Driver, really good receiver. Jordy Nelson, really good receiver. Greg Jennings, great receiver.
Great receiver.
He even had Randall Cobb. I wouldn't put him too high, but he had a great he did a great job. But Devontae Adams, we can't sleep on Devontae Adams as well.
No, I gave him Devontae, but do you think they're great receivers, or do you think he made them great? Because I think the great made people great, just like Tom Brady. He had Randy Moss, but he made Edelman and all the other.
No, I don't think, no.
Think about it. Would Edelman even have a name if it wasn't for Tom Brady?
I'm not talking about Brady. Why are you trying to bring?
Because I'm trying to show you the comparison that the great ones make people great that are not great. And I think that the only one legitly that he played with was possibly Devontae Adams, that could say that I could go anywhere and be great.
All right, let me ask you this.
I went to the Texans. What do you do with the Texans?
All right, you're throwing around the word great a lot. Let me answer this question for me about Aaron Rodgers. Other than his personal stats, what makes him great?
He can make every throw. He's very accurate.
Okay.
He wins. Like, you always have a chance to win with him.
When you say have a chance to win, what does that mean?
There's only a few quarterbacks that you can go in there every single season. You're making the playoffs. With him, you're making the playoffs. He could go making the playoffs. He could go to the Texans next year and they'll make the playoffs.
So that makes him great.
I think that makes you great because there's not too many quarterbacks that can do that. If that was the case, there'd be a lot of them out there.
Okay, give me another reason why he's great other than his personal stats.
I think all his teams, players want to play with him. When it comes to what receivers want to play with Aaron, look at the Jets right now. They fiending in here in New York because they want him to come over there. Because
it's the Jets. Y'all not that much better than the Texans. That's not a good comparison. Like man, listen, man, stop.
What do you want me to say? Like, if he's accurate, he doesn't turn the ball over. His QB rating is always in the 90s.
Those are personal stats. That's my point. That's personal stats.
But those are personal stats that are gained by playing with his teammates that he's developed, that he makes them look good.
Oh, brother.
He has to know to someone that has to catch it.
And you know what? Jason told me when he gets his podcast back up, he's going to talk about GOATs. And this is one of my reasons I want to bring up. One of the reasons you can measure a player's greatness is by wins. And that's wins in the regular season and playoffs. Aaron Rodgers is a great individual quarterback. His stats are great.
5 times he went to the NFC Championship game. 6 times he went to 9 times he went to the divisional playoff, and 6 times he went to the wild card round.
Okay, so I don't care about the wild card round and division round. Dak Prescott been to the divisional round and the wild card. So don't bring that up. Let's talk about the NFC championships. You say it was 5, right? Give me the years. Give me those years.
Jesus. The years. Hold on. Let me see if they give us the years.
Yeah, because I don't know about that 5, but again, my computer's broke.
It's on the sporting news. You could check that on the sporting news.
Okay. All right. So
he's 1-4. And he went in 2011, 2015, 2017, 20, and 21. In 2011, it was Green Bay versus Chicago. 15, it was Green Bay at Seattle. Green Bay at Atlanta in 17. Green Bay at San Francisco, 20, and then Green Bay versus Tampa Bay. And he won the first one in 11 and lost every other one after that.
Okay.
And he lost to some great Seattle teams, the San Francisco team and the Bucks team all had amazing defenses.
Okay, so if we go by that, then right now him and Mahomes are even, right? Right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. So I give you that. But at the end of the day, and again, that's why I like you on this show, you're going to challenge and debate. At the end of the day, I feel, my opinion, Mahomes is better and the intangibles are better with Mahomes. And
but what intangibles? Can you give me some intangibles?
Yeah, I did. I said leadership. How
do you measure leadership though?
Because there's been guys on the record that left Green Bay because of Aaron Rodgers. They don't want to be there because of Aaron Rodgers. Yes. What's your boy that played for the Raiders? You just named him.
Devontae.
Yes. One of the reasons why he wanted to leave.
Because of Aaron Rodgers. That's because he wanted to get paid.
Because Aaron Rodgers hogged most of the money that which he tried to have a conversation with him about, that Aaron Rodgers didn't want to have a conversation with the organization about.
So I have a question for you. So if Lamar Jackson does the same thing, you have an issue with Lamar Jackson?
Yes. Because regardless, and let me tell you this, let me tell you something. I don't like Brady. But one thing I'll give Brady, he didn't take a lot of money. You know why? Because he understood what it was to win. And guess what? As much as I don't like Brady, guys want to play with Brady. You don't hear many guys talking about Aaron Rodgers. All you hear about Aaron Rodgers is the great individual stats that he does. You don't hear nothing about him being a great leader. You don't hear nothing about guys saying positive things about him. I got a friend of mine who's close with Green Bay that said that they don't think he's a leader. The intangibles, yes, the intangibles. And to me, Aaron Rodgers, I'm gonna let you spin, Jay.
Go ahead.
To me, with Aaron Rodgers, and this is what I love about Mahomes, and I think that's why I'm talking about this game. To me, with Mahomes, when things aren't going well, he doesn't have to have everything perfect to make plays. Aaron Rodgers, and he improvises well, Cole. I'm not taking nothing away from him. But there has to be something, everything has to be clicking. He turns the ball over at times when he don't need to turn the ball over. So for me, in my eyes, what I see and what I hear, it's Mahomes. It's Mahomes. You don't see nobody on Green Bay sideline going crazy when he doing the interview. Like, did you see the interview, Kelsey and them jumping behind Mahomes? Did you see just the things that you see with your eyes? You could throw stats at me all day, and you got me. He got 5 NFC championship games. I did not believe that. You got me on that one. But I'm just telling you, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, in particular this year, do you really think they're supposed to be there?
No.
Do you really think they're supposed to be in the Super Bowl right now? Okay, Kelsey, we know that. Okay, Chris Jones, we know that he's played well in the past. But if we sit down and think about what that team is, are they really supposed to be in the Super Bowl right now, Cole? Are they really supposed to be better than Buffalo and Cincinnati? When you look team for team, pound for pound, how do you think they winning, Cole? They don't have a bunch of great receivers. They don't have a Jordy Nelson. Yeah, they got Travis Kelce, who catches the ball well. But what do they really have over there that makes you think they're supposed to be in the Super Bowl? You know why they're giving them a chance to beat Philadelphia? And Jay might not agree. I don't think they're going to beat Philadelphia. But
no.
Look at how the quarterback is playing with a high ankle sprain, by which one of the big plays in the game, he ran for. He couldn't put pressure on the ankle. He threw. Look at this, Cole. Cincinnati had everybody. He threw for 326 yards. He threw, and he got 2 touchdowns. You think Kansas City is supposed to be here right now? What's the big one reason?
I could agree with you. If we're gonna say what makes him better is the leadership and likability, then I gotta give you that argument. But if you ask me talent pound for pound, there's nothing that Mahomes can do or Rodgers could do that the other cannot do. You get what I'm saying?
I'll give you that. That's what I said. Individual stats. I'll give you that. He is a great talent.
I'll give you that he's a better leader. I'll give you that.
That's the
I don't
reason
know if
why
he's a
they're
better
here.
player, but he's a better leader.
Go ahead,
So-
Jay. I got excited. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I love it. I love it. And for one, the Chiefs did surprise me the whole season,
Exactly.
including the loss to Indianapolis, which I didn't think that would happen. But the loss to Buffalo, I was like, that's a good team. I get it. The loss to Cincy, I said, Cincy's not a bad team at all. They're good as well. But then they started running the table. They just started going. And I said, who is he throwing to? If you know that Kelsey is the only real threat, then why don't you just double Kelsey the whole game? But what Mahomes does very well is, if you're open, I'm going to throw it to you. Catch it. Catch the ball, because I'm going to throw it to you. I'm putting your bread back.
He's like LeBron. I will say that. He's like LeBron when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. He does. And
he played with bums early in his career, and he made them better.
Absolutely.
I'm bums in the NBA, so I'm not going to say that.
I'm with you. I know what you mean. But that's true, though. That's the point. I mean, you got a lot of guys that want to come to Kansas City because he's going to get you the ball. And all of a sudden you see guys who are making big plays, and they've done this since he's been here. People say, who is that guy? And you start Googling, trying to find out where these guys came from. And Mahomes going, hey, if you're open, I'm going to get you the ball. And I expect you to catch it. And saying that, so you really don't see a whole lot of pure drop balls from the Chiefs, because it feels like I'm going to do everything for this man that's going to, share the wealth. So I do like that. I did find, though, I heard a report, I don't know how true it is, I haven't seen the stats, but Aaron Rodgers almost hates rookies, is what they say, and he rarely ever throws the ball to rookies. And that kind of that, I'm out here running routes, I'm open, and you're just not gonna throw it to me because I'm a rookie?
But you know why I get where y'all coming from, but we come from the old school. So it makes me think about how Jordan used to treat these young guys. It makes me think about how some of these it makes me think about Tom Thibodeau, how he coached. He doesn't want to play rookies, even though rookies may be more talented and better. It's an old school mentality thing.
I get what you're saying. But again, I'm telling you, I like it too. It's a good comparison. But what I'm telling you is this: is that I've heard this, and like Jay just said, and I don't want to make it seem like we ganging up on you, but you are in the minority in as far as Aaron Rodgers. But let me say this. That's what I've heard about Rodgers in Green Bay. He's not there. He's not the guy. And let me say this. I know that there are certain positions that people think, like, for example, the quarterback, that your leader has to be a quarterback. Doesn't necessarily mean that. It actually would help, though, because that's the position where you just automatically command the team, and the team is looking for you to make a play. Now, don't get me wrong. If we talk about the Ravens with Trent Dilfer, he wasn't the leader of that team. It was Ray Lewis, but that team was stacked. I mean, even now, I even think about the Seahawks with the Legion of Boom. We gave a lot of credit to Russell, but, we know that it was Cam Chancellor, it was those guys, Richard Sherman. But at the end of the day, there have been reports, Cole, that's the big knock about Aaron Rodgers, is that other guys don't really like to play with him. And it's because of his attitude towards other players. You know what I'm saying? And you're right. Sometimes that's the knock on Jordan. Jordan was kind of the same way. But as Jordan got older, 80s Jordan was a lot different from 90s Jordan.
Yeah, I agree.
90s Jordan had to figure out how to win. 80s Jordan, much like Aaron Rodgers, individual stats through the roof. But he didn't begin to win until he started changing his attitude. Now, Jordan was an a-hole, but he started to change his attitude a little bit more towards his teammates. But go ahead, Cole.
Can I add one thing, though, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers that I give him over Mahomes? Is that he adjusted to, I think, 3 different offensive coordinators and 3 different styles of offenses versus Pat Mahomes. He has the opportunity to play under the same coach, the same offensive coordinator since day one. So that type of camaraderie and understanding of a system, where to go in a system.
No, I'm not giving you that. We talking about great quarterbacks.
And that makes you great when you're able to do the same thing.
Do you really think that Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes need an offensive coordinator? Do you really think it's
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when you have to, with even Tom Brady went through different offensive coordinators.
Okay, let me ask you this. All right,
never had to adjust to anything.
Let me ask you this. Let's just common sense here. Let's get down to the get down. You want to bring in offensive coordinators. Is there any offensive coordinator in this world that's going to go to the Green Bay Packers and say, "Hey, Aaron, you can't do this anymore. Hey, Aaron, if you don't run my system, you're not going to play."
Wasn't that the knock on Aaron Rodgers that he was changing plays in the huddle? That he was changing plays at the line?
Is there any offensive coordinator?
Wasn't that the rumor, though? He was changing plays at the line.
Hold on. When Peyton Manning was at the height of his power, in the prime of his career, was that really a Pep Hamilton or somebody that walked in and said, "Hey, Peyton, you're not going to be Peyton. I'm going to bring in my air raid offense, and you're going to run it." Let's keep it real, Cole. Stop reaching, man. The fact that you're reaching shows me that you know you lost this debate. Because you bringing in the offensive coordinator. This Pat Mahomes, this Aaron Rodgers, is an offensive coordinator really going to come in there, Jason, and be like, "Hey, Aaron, I know you've been running this offense, but we're going to change it up you're going to do what I tell you to do." No, Aaron Rodgers.
But Jay knows. You heard the story about what was happening when LaFleur.
Everybody else has to adjust to Aaron Rodgers, okay? Let's just keep it real. Did Peyton Manning really have an offensive coordinator? Let's just keep it real, man. Come on.
I do think that what you saw with Peyton Manning was exactly what you're saying when it was. He knows football. He studied this. He continued to study it, and he calling out your defense. And even when you try and shift, he still knew what to do. Audible to the right play, all within time. Bang, 8-yard play, 22-yard play, touchdown, whatever it is. That was poetry in motion. And I don't know how difficult it would be to come in with, like, let's just say they mystically love Eric Bieniemy all of a sudden and give him a head job, which I don't think is going to happen. But let's just say he gets a head job somewhere and he leaves and some new guy comes in. That relationship with Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, you're just a puppet right now if you come in trying to change a whole lot of things.
Exactly, man.
But that's what happened with LaFleur, right? He's a young guy, right? And eventually, I think some ego got in the way.
Yes.
I want to show that I'm.
And he had to back down to Rodgers, right? He had to back down. So don't give me the offensive coordinator. No, I'm not riding with that.
But all I'm asking is, do you think there's a benefit to it, being in the same system all the time, knowing how to play in that system?
Listen. I get what you're saying, but that applies to mid-level quarterbacks. For example, I give David Carr somewhat of a pass because of the chaos that was in Las Vegas, the constant coaching changes, but he's an average quarterback. And you got guys coming in there saying, "You haven't won, let's try this. You haven't won, let's do this." Nobody comes in there, and I'm going to give you this, Cole. I'm going to take it to the Knicks for you because you're not going to win this with me.
You could talk about the Larry Brown and Carmelo situation.
Okay, let me tell you this. Let's talk about what Mike D'Antoni does. Because what Andy Reid does is what Mike D'Antoni does. And this is my criticism about James Harden when he was here. Mike D'Antoni did not step into the Rockets organization and say, "Hey, James, we're going to change this up. You're not going to do this." No. What Mike D'Antoni does, this is why he always gets the great offensive players. He gets a great offensive guard, Steve Nash, James Harden. And what he does is he doesn't change anything. He just makes it easier for you to do what you do best. That's why I blame James Harden here. And I blame James Harden in Houston because of this. James Harden wants to shoot poor percentage shots. And my biggest criticism is, James, every time you come down, it's got to be 30 dribbles. It's got to be a step back three. That is a low percentage. Let me change my language. That's a low percentage shot. And when you get to the playoffs, when you're dribbling every possession, 15 to 20 dribbles, when you get through 82 games, that's why he doesn't have any gas in the playoffs, because he's always shooting hard shots. What Mike D'Antoni does is, and this is why I blame James, hey, James, let me get you more shots, more efficient. Now, I blame James because James could have caught that ball at 15 feet, and he could have been where, if I shoot it, I make it, 2 dribbles to the basket, get fouled, or pull up. Those are higher percentage shots. Mike D'Antoni would have never told him, hey, don't do that, James. That's not a part of our offense. James could have chosen to do that. I look at Andy Reid the same way. He's never going to tell Mahomes, don't be Mahomes. But he's going to make sure that Mahomes has more opportunities to do what he does best.
No, I know that. I know that. That's not my argument. That's not my argument. My argument.
But my point is this. My point is this. You don't, Andy Reid and LaFleur, all the coaches that Aaron Rodgers had, they're not going to change up what he does. They're not going to come in and put an offense in place that's not going to go or favor his strengths. Okay? So the coordinator thing doesn't work for me. Aaron Rodgers is going to do what he wants to do on offense because he's a great quarterback, to your point.
I think it's a benefit. You have the same people around that know you, know your body, same trainer, same offensive.
No.
Think about it like this.
I'm not riding with it.
Think about it like this. Anyone who's ever gotten a new girlfriend, got remarried or whatever, that transition period is not smooth because you're so used to the person that you were with.
But when all the chicks like you, in school and across the city, they don't walk in there and change you. They change to you. If you the stud athlete, it ain't gonna be no chick coming from Queens. We'll go to New York. We'll go to New York. Ain't no chick from Queens gonna come change you because you live in Brooklyn. No, you the stud. You the one everybody want. You the one that everybody gonna look to. She gonna adjust to you. Well, guess what you gonna do? Bye. I got 5 more over here. That's gonna do what I want.
Cole, I was rocking with that argument. I liked it, and it was solid. But Bake, that was a pretty good, analogy right there. So
the offensive coordinator thing is not working with me. No. Let's just say this.
I'll give you that argument. I'll give you that.
It don't work like that, man. You ain't gonna walk in there. Listen, Jason, the coach. If Jason gets a Pat Mahomes type of guy in high school, and if he starts playing like that, and if he's been successful at the junior high level, he's been successful, and this kid's gonna be a top prospect. You think Jason gonna go home at night and be like, hey, let me see if I can come up with a brand new offense for this kid? No. If he's that great, if he's a great quarterback, Jason gonna stick with that offense he been doing. You don't listen with great players, and a lot of coaches don't get this with great players. And this is one of the reasons why some coaches make it and they don't. When you have great players, you fix the system to highlight their strengths and hide their weaknesses. You don't bring a new system in because, this is what I run. No.
That's what Tibbs was doing.
Exactly. That's why the Knicks will never win another championship. Exactly. If you got a great player, you fix your system around that greatness. You don't come in and say, hey, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant, but you don't come in and say, hey, we're going to run the backdoor cut all day. No, you're going to run the triangle. That's what you're going to do. And matter of fact, we'll get to this later, but why you think they bringing Sean Payton in? You know what Sean Payton said? They asked him this. I never forget this.
I remember that interview too.
They asked him, they said, Sean, what do you think about fixing Russell? You know what he said? We got to get back to making Russell what he was in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Russell's proven that he's a great player consistently yet. But come on, man. Like, stop it. I I ain't going with the coordinator thing. You can ride with that if you want to, man. I ain't trying to give. No, I'm not giving Aaron Rodgers a pass on that. And you wrong for even trying to bring that here. I'm not going with the coordinator. All right, let's stick with this. Eagles, Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Jay, I'm going to start with you. What do the Chiefs need to do to win? How do they beat the Philadelphia Eagles? What should
stay
they
healthy? Stay healthy, stop the run. That's it. You stay healthy, you stop the run. Oh, and of course, don't turn the ball over. You know, none of that. Like Super Bowls are crazy because somebody makes a name for themselves by doing something. Kick returner out of nowhere, you know, running back kicks or punts or special teams problems. Like remember when Denver went to the Super Bowl and like the first real series, they snapped the ball and went back for a safety and it was funky and it just fell apart. You can't have any of that type of stuff happen to start the game, right? So no fumbles, no dumb picks, just let the game play out a little bit, but they have to stop Philly's run, and that comes from their backs and Hurts, and then just make him a pure passer. Because if you look at Cincinnati's run game was non-existent, and it just you sitting back and now Spagnuolo can confuse you at QB, especially a younger quarterback. They haven't seen everything yet, and Andy Reid after a bye week, his record is crazy. So they're going to plan. They're going to, you know, take care of business. But I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. It might come down to a field goal at the end. I think that it could go. It could do this. The Chiefs can win 3 or 7. Philly can win by 21. That's what I think. It can win by 21. But I think the Chiefs are going to pull it out, and I'm going to go ahead and call the score 32-28.
Wow. Ooh.
Wow.
32-28.
Man, I'm glad we got this guy on the show, man. This is golly, 32-28. Jeez, okay.
That's a high scoring going against Philly's defense.
That's true. Cole, how does the Chiefs, in your opinion, how do they win this game?
First, be healthy enough. I think that they got to get the ball in their playmakers. I think someone like Tony has to get the ball and play well that day. I think Kelsey needs to touch it at least 10 times. I think he needs to have at least 10 catches.
Man, that's a lot.
Chris Jones has to have pressure on the ball, but I think that's difficult because the way that they run the option and so forth in the read and react offense is hard because if you overplay the run, then Hurts is gone. Or he might get you over the top with A.J. Brown. So
great point.
I think what they have the benefit of is that they probably have the best defensive mastermind in football, or at least the top 5. He's known to break up, you know, teams' records or chances at winning records, such as the New England Patriots or taking the Giants to Super Bowls with that defenses that he has. He's very creative. So I think that's one of the benefits is that they have one of the most creative defensive coordinators. But can't turn it over. They have to get points. It doesn't matter whether they touchdowns or field goals. They can't come up empty-handed 3 times in a row and have 3 straight possessions without scoring, because if they get behind, it's going to be a wrap for them. Because that defense will get at you with the rush, and they got to keep it mixing it up. They got to keep them thinking. And I think they're going to have to do a lot of short passing. Short passing, get the ball out real quick.
Great point.
Like I said, get it to Tony. Tony, get it to Pacheco, or I think that's how you say his name.
Pacheco, yep.
Those are individuals who make big plays. So
right. I agree. I think both you guys said health. I agree with that. I think for me, I think it comes down to the defense. If Mahomes can do what Mahomes does, I think Jones, they have to get pressure on Hurts. They have to get in there, just like they got to Burrow. I'm putting this on the defense because I think the offense can do. I don't know if Philly can stop Kansas City from doing what they're doing if Mahomes is healthy and they give him just a little bit of time. I think the offense is fine. But I put it on the defense. I think Jones and the defensive line has to continue to play. I don't think they have to play good. I think they have to play great against this team. You got a quarterback that can run. You got a running game that can run. I agree with you, Jason, in the sense that they have to make Hurts a pocket passer.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to get to him. They have to get to him. I think Chris Jones has to. I'm putting the game on Chris Jones and that defensive line. Because I think the offense will be fine. Even though that Chief defense is nasty, I don't see anybody, if Mahomes is clicking, I don't see anybody stopping that offense. I may be giving it a rough time, and I think Cincinnati did about as good of a job that you can do. But just as Cincinnati did it, you have to remember that if it's even, that's not good enough against that offense because Mahomes is going to make a play. I don't care who you got out there. Shit, you could have the 0-1 Ravens out there, and I still think
they were
I think
nasty.
so. And I think and it's to Cole's point, Andy Reid is going to get creative. Like Cole said, the short passes. Mahomes is going to do that. He's going to adjust. If they take the long ball away, he's going to improvise. He's going to do that. So I think it's all on Kansas City's defense. I think they have to make him a pocket passer, but they have to also get pressure. Now, at the same time, the defense is the weak point. So if the defense doesn't, they allow people to score them sometimes. And so if Philadelphia, I think they average between them and Kansas City, they either number one or number two as far as averaging points all season, the highest average. So I think it's all on the defense. I think it's all on the defense, what they can do. I don't have any issues with the offense. I think what Cole said, he made some good points, and you made some good points, but I think the offense is going to be fine. But the defense, to me, Kansas City is like this. They don't need a shutdown defense because of how great the offense is and the coaching as well. But they need a defense that bends, that doesn't break. And I think that's been their DNA for a long time. A lot of times we've concentrated on the offense because they look so great. But the thing about those Chiefs teams is that defense came up big when it needed to. Not all the time. It's not a shutdown defense. It's not like Philadelphia's defense. But as long as they can make plays when they need to make plays, they don't have to be dominant, but they have to make some plays. But I still think to make sure that this victory is complete, they're going to have to make some great plays on defense.
I think they have to keep Philly in 3rd and 7s.
Yeah.
Know that they have to throw on a third.
Yeah.
They can't have those 3rd and 3s because that's where Jalen Hurts might run it. Or
and you put your linebackers in a bad spot.
Yeah,
On 3rd
have to be the 3rd and 7s, the 3rd and 6s where they like
3rd and longs. Yes. I agree.
So does the moment get too big for Jalen Hurts, considering the magnitude of the Super Bowl? Because I know he played in national championship games, right? And high school, right? College. I just had to ask. Nope.
Nah, play the Alabama, man.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'm gonna piggyback off what Cole just said. His experience, and I think with him, I don't think the moment can get too big because of who he is, the type of guy he is. All year long, I've seen him composed, and this year he's improved from last year. He strikes me as a guy that's been through adversity. I mean, you think about that Alabama experience. This guy lost one game at Alabama. He gets replaced
in the national championship
and goes to Oklahoma, does okay, gets drafted, comes in on the bench, wins the starting job. Now they're playing in the Super Bowl. I don't think no moment gets too big for him. Now, can you make him uncomfortable? Maybe. But I don't see this game being too big. Just based on who he is and what he's been through, I think he's made for this moment. I mean, there's some things you can do. Again, I don't like the fact about that defense. I love that defense, but at the end of the day, as they got to the end of the regular season, they were starting to let quarterbacks. I think they let Dak pass on them or something like. Somebody passed on them that shouldn't have passed on them, and so that's what scares me about them is that that defense. you know, if a mediocre quarterback, was it Minshew that dropped all that? No, that was Dallas. I'm sorry. The defense towards the end of the regular season didn't look that well to me, you know. But I don't think it's too big for him. What he's been through and the kind of guy he is, no.
So I have a question for you, for both of you. If he wins, and especially if he wins convincingly, where does he stand amongst the quarterbacks today?
Go ahead, Jay.
I think that you can't be a flash in the pan. Granted, he's having a great season and he has a ton of potential. And after you win that first one, they're always going to hold it. Can you get to that coveted number 2? Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, buddy in Tampa Bay, or who won one? Brad Johnson, I want to say. He won one. Do you want to be in the same conversation as Brad Johnson? Right. And the guy, you just said Trent Dilfer. It's like, well, they won one. So you got to get to that number 2.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's always going to hang over people, like what's hanging over Mahomes, because they want him to beat Brady. Well, they want to see, can you beat Brady? If you beat Brady in the Super Bowl, we're going to crown you, basically. That'd be his second, and they're going to crown him. And there's going to be a few that say no, but it's like, you won 2 in 4 years. Nuts. So
is he better than Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tua, Hager, Herbert?
He's better than Tua. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not sold on Tua, but and that's a great question to ask, because Josh Allen runs the ball, right? And Hurts runs the ball, and they both throw the ball well. You know, so they are very similar. And if there's a draft, I bet it would be real close to 50-50 / 45-55 when you ask 100 people, who would you rather have on your team? And again, I'm starting a team. I got to pick one of these 2 first. I bet it would be real close, you know, depending on who you ask. But you know, like you said, with Joe Burrow, you know, that kid can play some football. So, but Burrow has 1 Super Bowl appearance and no win. But now here comes I'm just said his name. Hurts. Here comes Hurts to get his Super Bowl appearance, potential, you know, win. It's tough. I want to see us have the same conversation the same time next year to see where everybody stands. You know, because teams go to the Super Bowl like the Rams, then they fall off, and that's what a veteran QB. You know, it always happens. Well, except for the Chiefs, they didn't fall off. They just lost to Cincy, which is a good team. But it happens. You see teams go 13-3, go to the Super Bowl, and then the next year they're 5-12 or something. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see what would happen next year at this point.
I agree with Hurts. If he wins, I think it'll be a great accomplishment. I can't put him in that upper echelon yet with Mahomes, with Rodgers.
Even with an MVP?
No, because it's 1 year.
MVP of the regular season and the Super Bowl.
No, because it's 1 year. And here's the thing. Now, I will say this. If I started my team, I probably would pick him over Allen. And the only reason why I say that is, and this is kind of a gift and curse with Allen. Allen is such a freak athlete that he takes a lot of crazy plays and he turns the ball over. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like he turns the ball over, but it's always trying to make a great play. And Buffalo thrives off his athleticism and his ability to make plays that other quarterbacks can't. Mm-hmm. I take Hurts because I think he values possession a little bit better than Allen. Mm-hmm. But again, for those people who are proponents for Josh Allen, it's kind of like a gift and a curse. He makes bad plays, but at the same time, those same plays, sometimes he converts them. And he does things that other quarterbacks can't do physically. Mm-hmm. But if I'm starting my team, just because I'm a guy, I value possession from my quarterback, I go with Hurts. That's one of my knocks about Brett Favre is he turned the ball over way too much for me. I know everybody loved Brett Favre, but he threw too many interceptions for me, as great as everybody tried to make him, I value quarterbacks that value possession. I would take Hurts. And I don't think, has Allen been to a Super Bowl yet?
No.
Yeah, I would take Hurts. But again, you
take him over Lamar?
No, not yet. Not yet. He's got to be more consistent. And in all fairness to Hurts, this is his first year starting, right? As a quarterback. He started last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah, I need more of a body of work before I start to, compare it to Lamar. Lamar is great. Lamar needs to win, of course, for me. But as far as Allen, yes. I'm with Jay, and I'm saying that I think Cole I just need a more body of work if he wins. I just need to see him do it a little bit more. And then, now this year, everybody's going to have film on him next year. If he wins, he's the guy now. They're going to game plan for him. You know how the NFL is. It's a league of film. Now you're the big guy. Now you in everybody's game plan. This offseason coordinators are going to go and they're going to put Jalen. So we'll see. We'll see when that film gets out. All right, let's stay with football, and we're almost done. Let's get to, I want to talk about this just a little bit, but Kellen Moore is out as a Cowboys offensive coordinator and now hired as the new offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Now, he is going from Dak Prescott to Justin Herbert. Is this an upgrade for Moore? And my next question is this. What this tells me is that the Cowboys, and you two tell me if you agree or disagree with this statement, but the Cowboys, to me, I think this is Mike McCarthy's last push. And what I mean by that is I think his job is on the line. So to me, this move is he feels like he needs to push Dak Prescott in the better direction. The fact that they got rid of Kellen Moore. I don't think Kellen Moore was the problem. I think it's the quarterback. I think it's the Cowboys itself, the team. But let me ask y'all this. Is it an upgrade for Moore going from the Cowboys to the Chargers? And is Dallas really fixing the problem that they have with their team on offense? Cole, you go first.
I think it's an upgrade because they have more talent. I think Eckler is one of the best running backs in the league. I think their receiver tandem, when he's healthy, with
Mike Woods,
Williams, and it's Allen. It's Keenan Allen. Allen, and they also got Palmer or something like that now too. I think it's one of the best tandems out there, and they got a great defense. One of the best young quarterbacks coming up. I think he's playing with he has a younger team over there as well when on the offensive side, or at least a balanced team. I think he's upgrading personally, because I think what Dallas did, when they lost Cooper, they lost the balance that they had in their offense. Everything went to CeeDee Lamb, and then they had a receiver coming off injury, and then some unproven receivers. So I think he's getting more tools to play with. He's getting better weather. Not that much better, but better weather, and a better place to live, more than likely. I've been to California versus Dallas, so we'll see. In regards to McCarthy, I think this is going to be his last year if they don't win anything. I think that he's been there too long. I personally think NFL coaches deserve, 4 years. If you don't do anything in 4 years significant and make a push or show signs that your team is really on the cusp of winning at least the NFC, the championship divisional game, then I think that it's time for you to go. And I think that he will be gone after next year. And I hope that he doesn't get another job before a black coach gets a job, because I'm tired of seeing these coaches recycled.
Great point.
Getting opportunity after opportunity when some of these other coaches, don't even get a second chance that deserve second chances, so.
Well, and I agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, you look at San Diego, and again, healthy is all about sports. If you have a healthy team on paper, that's what you're looking at. I would say it's an upgrade as well. And I've been to San Diego, and it is beautiful out there. It's expensive, as it's way outside my pay range, but it is nice out there. It's great. The beach is just amazing, and you go out there and you have weapons to play with. You have, like you said, the receivers, the running backs, quarterback can still throw the ball. And this was a playoff team. This was a playoff team that, to be honest, I didn't think they would sneak in, and they did. And the only problem is how good is Denver going to be? Because I don't think the Raiders are going to make a big push next year. The Chiefs are, like you said, going to be the Chiefs. So looking at that division, trying to win that division is tough. But then you look at the Cowboys, and I think Washington's going to be much better. Philly, I still think Philly's going to be really good. The Giants, again, was that 3?
Yeah,
that's 3 of them.
Yeah,
I think getting the heck out of the NFC East,
yeah,
and going to the AFC West is a big upgrade for him on that part alone.
Good. Now, Jay, before you go, I want to ask you one more question, and we're gonna let you go. DeMeco Ryans takes the job with the Texans after turning down an interview with the Broncos. Do you think this was the right decision, and will he succeed with the Texans?
That I've been thinking about it all day, and
yeah, I'm ready to open up on this. I'm asking you this because I know you're gonna have to get off, but I want to get into this. And Cole, I like the way Cole put this in the notes, but I want to get your opinion before you get off.
So I think that DeMeco had to take this job because jobs don't open up all the time, especially for people of color. They don't. Yeah. And if they've had a top defense before he was in San Francisco, is it really true that he did all that? Right. So if they become terrible next year, then all of a sudden they're gonna say, well, DeMeco, you are the reason that defense went downhill, and that job may not come around. If you're starting at the bottom with the Texans, anything that you do better than 3 games is a bonus. So they're gonna be proud of that, and they're gonna win more than 3 games next year. So I think this is a good move for him. I think the Texans, to be honest, I think the Texans did it to say, well, we hired 3 black quarterbacks, so y'all can stop saying we're a racist organization. Just keep it in the book. That's what I think is out there. So realistically, I think it's going to work. Will he be there in 5 years? No.
All right, cool. Well, Jay, if you got to get off, go ahead. But I mean, I'm gonna add to that because I really want to get into this with Cole. But Jay, whenever you need to get off, just go ahead and we'll But I want to say this to that. Just like I was telling the fellas in the studio, I'm more concerned about the organization. And here's what I mean by that. And I was telling everybody in the studio. What bothers me about this move is it the right move? Yes. And the reason why it's the right move is because I've always felt that they needed a black coach. And I've always felt that they needed a younger coach, and I always felt like they needed a younger guy, a player's type of coach. With that being said, I don't trust this organization, and here's my reason. I feel like they had to do this, and what I mean by that is they're losing ticket sales. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is they needed somebody that could come in that could get these ticket sales back up. I tell people all the time, the Texans had to do this. And some people say, well, why do you say that? Yes, they have to do it. They have to do it because at the end of the day, they're an organization that was not concerned about winning to me from day one. I think they were concerned about how they look and who they wanted at the face of the Texans. All the moves that they've done in the past, getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins, even letting DeMeco Ryans go to push Brian Cushing, letting Deshaun Watson walk out of the door behind the BS. all the things that they've done that have been racist, that have not made any sense, and I did say that, racist. But they had to make this move because DeMeco Ryans, for one, is a former player that the city loved, that they did not want to see go. Number two, DeMeco Ryans, and I believe the Texans mainly did this because of money. They're losing ticket sales. And the only way you get an organization to change is you hit them in the pocket. I've been telling people for years, stop supporting this organization. That's the only way you're going to get them to stop doing the moves that they're doing. Stop going to the games. Stop buying their gear. Well, DeMeco Ryans kills two birds with one stone. Yeah, we got another black coach. You can't say that we're racist. Like Jay say, we've had 3 black coaches in a row. How can you say that we're racist? And number two, and I'm going to do this tomorrow, I want to check the ticket sales. The ticket sales are going through the roof. And so I think they did it. It's kind of like when you are backed against a wall, number one, you're not winning. They don't care about winning. Number two, they got to do something now because not only are we not winning, there are no more seats. People are not buying tickets to the game. And so DeMeco Ryans represents, number one, getting people back into the seats, money. Now, number two, they can sell it to us. Yeah, we're going to win. We're going to win. You know what I'm saying? Number three, well, I'll just stick with 2, but right move, not the right organization, not the right intentions. Now they have to go this way. They didn't want to go this way. This is the same organization that before they got David Culley, they were actually contemplating hiring Josh McCown, who had no experience. So that tells me too that they never were about winning. I feel like they had to do this to save face. I don't truly believe it. I want to see if they're going to give him what he wants and if he can win. But I still have in the back of my mind and my gut that when he wins, they're going to replace him and put somebody like Josh McCown in there. You know, I think this is just, people in Houston don't need to be fooled. It looks good to the national media, Skip and everybody. Shannon talked about it today. It's a great move. It's a great move. It's a great move, but it's a move they had to do. So let's not give them credit for doing something they should have done, whether it been DeMeco or somebody else, 7 years ago. How can you justify, okay, you want to give Bill O'Brien a chance at head coach, be my guest. How can you justify him being a general manager? Because you wanted Patriots South. You wanted to make him into Bill Belichick. Well, Bill Belichick earned that. That's why he got that at New England. So that you make Bill O'Brien the general manager. He gets rid of DeAndre Hopkins for God knows why. Oh, he's not our guy. We let Jadeveon Clowney go because he doesn't have the attitude that we want. You know, you want to go out and get players like J.J. Watt based on how they look. Well, here's the thing. You don't go looking for J.J. Watts. That's a diamond in the rough. What you do is you take young players, and let's be honest, let's take young African-American players that may not be squeaky clean as J.J. Watt, but have talent. You put them around J.J. Watt and you let them learn how to be pros. But you want to tell me about Connor Barwin. The rest of the league tells us that Matt Schaub is a backup quarterback, but what you tell us, oh, in our system, he can be a starter. You know, all the crazy moves that they made. I don't trust this organization. This is something they had to do to get tickets. I don't think they're going to give him what he really wants. And even if he does, if he cleans it up, he creates a culture, they're going to find somebody else that they want to give the credit to. Great move. I don't trust the intention. I don't trust the organization based on the moves that they made in the past. I would not. And I hope DeMeco Ryans really knows something that we don't, because I never would have signed with this organization as a coach. You look at what they did to David Culley. They had no business bringing David Culley in. Truth be told, I'm not, and I know he's a black coach. I get it. They had no business I mean, Lovey got a raw end of the stick. But you talking about an organization that made Bill O'Brien a GM, you know, and then you asked Deshaun Watson to be a part of the process. He asks you to interview Eric Bieniemy. You don't do it. He tells you to trade him. Then you smear all this foolishness about this massage and all that foolishness and all that. They were behind all of that. I don't care what nobody says. They were mad because Deshaun Watson said, I'm not playing, trade me. And he had a no trade clause, which Bill O'Brien gave to him as a GM. And that came back and bit them. So all the things that they've done, Jadeveon Clowney, DeAndre Hopkins, even Mario Williams, even leaving DeMeco Ryans for Brian Cushing. Brian Cushing gets thrown out of the NFL for steroid use. The Texans turn around and make him the strength and conditioning coach. I don't trust this organization. Great move. I'm not going to even call it great. Your back was against the wall. You had to do this. You're only doing this to preserve the life of you making and selling tickets. Because if you really were going to do this, you could have done this years ago. You could have gave Eric Bieniemy an interview, even if you weren't going to hire him as a coach. You could have brought in Brian Flores. You're going to bring in David Culley and then set him up. He's never been a head coach, and then fire him 1 year later and say, oh, we're doing something. You bring in Lovie Smith. You don't give him anything. Get out of here, man. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry, Cole. You know how I feel about him. I mean, you could go ahead, say what you got to say about him, you know, but I'm just not buying it. I wish DeMeco well. I think he's going to do well, but I'm telling you, in the end, they're going to do something to show you that they really don't. It's not really about winning. They've just shown that to me. They've just shown it. I'm not buying it. I think it's a smoking screen, but hey, what do I know?
I think where I was surprised is that he didn't take the interview from Denver. With all the things that you said, I felt like they've been an organization that hasn't been consistent, constantly hiring coaches and getting rid of them right away. I didn't like how they did Lovie Smith because I actually thought Lovie Smith did a good job with the cards that he was dealt. I didn't like how they handled the Deshaun Watson case, how I really felt like you felt like they were just throwing this information out there because now he wants to leave.
Right.
And then I think I used to hear some stuff about the owner when it came to all the racial politics going on.
He said something about the prison and the prisoners and all that.
And for me, I feel like it makes me question to an extent, what are some of DeMeco Ryan's values? I understand he has to take this opportunity to get an opportunity, but I also think sometimes that my dignity and self-respect and the image that I want to portray for my Black community is more important for me than just taking any old job. I'd rather be a defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Right. And show that, you know, how you treat people, and you're not going to use me as the token person to you know, seriously.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what it's always been with them. That's why maybe he knows something that we don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I would have never taken the job. I mean, I like the dude, but like Jason said, maybe I don't know. I don't know why he would come here knowing their track record. But
and we don't even know what's behind the contract, because for me, I'm going to tell them, you got to make this highly incentivized. One, I want this. This is my number that I want. But once I surpass these things, this is what I also want. Right. But I also want to see some front office changes. Right. I want to see you doing what the Carolina Panthers are doing with Temple, where he hires, you know, executives within the organization to be the head of HR, to be, you know, maybe this public relation. He went out his way to hire multiple Black people to be part of the head of the Carolina Panthers. I want to see those things where you start removing some of these people that have been there for years, that are part of this culture that's toxic. Until I see that, I don't want to associate myself with your organization. But I get it too. I get it. Sometimes we got to take an opportunity just so that we can put it on a resume. It takes me back to I applied to some jobs in the past, and there was one job I got, and they didn't want to meet my salary ask. So I was just so they ended up when I counter offered, they reneged the offer after a while. The issue that I got from one of my mentors is that my mentor said, Gerard, in the future, take the position, even if it's not what you want, because it's the title that sets you up for the next position. And I believe that with DeMeco Ryans, having that head coaching opportunity is going to set him up, because even if he fails in the NFL, he'll always get a job in college. He'll be the next Deion Sanders. He'll go to another a big name school or whatever it may be. But for me, I just can't stand that he would have took that job with them, because I think if he waited out a little bit longer, he could have got something else. There's going to be some job openings this year.
Well, like Jason said, it could be, I mean, and let's not forget, he had his best years, I believe, as a player. I mean, he was defensive rookie of the year. I think Vince Young was offensive rookie of the year. So maybe, that could be kind of like a hometown thing.
And I was about to say that he might have family there. I don't know. I don't know his background. He could have family there. He might just say, "I just want to be closer to my family."
I just don't trust an organization that, and I'm just adding to what you're saying, Cole. Like, just think about this as the laughing stock of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You interviewed Josh McCown twice for an NFL head coaching job. Twice. He got a first interview and a second interview. He never coached in the NFL. He's never coached on the college level. I think he barely had high school experience. They actually gave him a second interview, and they did not even interview Eric Bieniemy. Now, Eric Bieniemy, I think, is going to be the heir to Andy Reid. I don't know. Jason would know more about that. But even if you weren't going to hire him, I mean, you're not going to bring the guy in to interview. All the success that he's had with the Kansas City Chiefs, and again, Mahomes is a big part of that, but you don't even give the guy an interview. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I don't know, man.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
I think the other issue too that I have with DeMeco Ryan, with a lot of other black coaches when they take these NFL jobs, is that we always get the short end of the stick by going to these teams that don't even have an established quarterback.
Right.
And we put them in a position where they have the expectation that you got to make the playoffs, and then they don't make the playoffs. Your quarterback right now is what, Davis Mills?
Me, I could be the quarterback right now.
Exactly. and now you're telling me if he don't win his first 2 years, they're going to be questions. Should we fire him? He needs to go. He's going to be under pressure.
And then, Cole, let me just add to that. I don't mean to interrupt you, because you're making a good point. I want to say this. Even when, let's go back to Kellen Moore. He gets a job with the Chargers. Where the hell is Byron Leftwich at?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wasn't he the offensive coordinator? Wasn't he the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Bucks when they won? Wasn't he the offensive coordinator?
Mm-hmm.
So why does Kellen Moore get and think about this? He's going out to the Chargers, established quarterback, established offense. Where is Byron Leftwich? Why didn't, and I don't know if he interviewed for that job, but why is
quickly?
Why is he not? He won a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator. Eric Bieniemy has won a Super Bowl as like
you see it across the NFL. Like when you even see quarterbacks in these situations, look at Andy Dalton getting these opportunities.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything in years. Nothing in years. You got Carson Wentz starting for 3 teams. He hasn't done anything. And you can't tell me, I don't care what anyone, I know he throws a lot of interceptions, but he also leads the league in touchdowns and passing yards when it was Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
And tell me Wentz is better than Jameis Winston. Come on, man. Like this is the issue that I have with the NFL.
That's a great point, man. Yeah, like,
well, I gotta do this. I am honored to be a guest. I have to go. I love the conversation. I love the insight. But please feel free. I'm sorry, Cole. It was definitely nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well, man. Definitely
absolutely.
come back.
Anytime I'm free. My season ends on Valentine's Day, and I'll have more time after that. Thank y'all for sure for having me.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Jay. Hey, man, we appreciate it, man. Me and Cole, we got a few more topics, man, but we definitely, man, whenever you want to get on, man, you welcome to get on any show we get with. I mean, we have guests on too. We had a guy from Notre Dame a couple of weeks ago, man, but we're gonna have guests on. If you want to get on with us anytime, and then like I said, when you get your podcast up, let us know. We'll definitely come on there and we'll rock with you, man. Whatever you need from us, but I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank y'all. Hey, good to see y'all again. Have a good one.
You too. Be blessed.
Yeah, so Cole, let's finish up. But yeah, you're right, man. I mean, Carson Wentz, man. I mean, I don't know.
How many times you get a starting job? You
Exactly.
start with 3 NFL teams. It's like, come on now.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about two more things and then we'll hang it up. Let's talk about Sean Payton taking the Broncos' job. Does this improve their chances of winning the NFC West? Will Russell Wilson return to form? This is a great topic. I'll go first. I think this is the best move that the Broncos could do. And the reason why I say that is this, for two reasons. For one, Sean Payton has been known in his coaching to be a no-nonsense guy. And I feel like Denver needs that, in particular for Russell Wilson. I mean, hearing the stories that he's got his own office, he's got 2 parking spaces, and the problem with that team is that they lost respect for Russ on the offensive end. He's come in, he's underperformed. It just doesn't seem like I don't know if he's pressing or he's just not the guy that he used to be. And it could be that, Seattle was a great team on defense. So maybe, I don't know. I think the Broncos are passing too much. I think Russ needs to get back to running the ball. And that's one of the things that Sean Payton said he's going to do, is that they need to get back to running the football. I think when you look back at Russell Wilson, when he was successful in his career in Seattle, a lot of people don't believe this. A lot of people don't know this, but when Lynch was there, they were a run-first football team. And he made plays, but they didn't put the ball in his hands to where I think we expected him to be a throw quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And so by Sean Payton saying that, I think that with the no-nonsense attitude and getting that culture back, because again, I think it all comes down to them on offense. Defense has been good. Their defense has been good. It's just that there's a disconnect for Russ and that offense. Also, like I said, that interview that he did on ESPN, and they asked him, and I thought this was a brilliant answer. And I think a lot of coaches, whether it be across any sport, whether it be football or basketball or baseball, but one thing they asked him, they said, what do you think Russell Wilson needs to do? How do they get him back? And he said, well, they need to go back and look at film of him in Seattle when he was playing his best. Try to get him back to that type of player. Now, one thing about that is he's definitely not the athlete he used to be. He can't make those kind of plays like he used to. But again, I think it's what Sean Payton said. Russell Wilson, whether you're a fan of Russell Wilson or not, he's at his best when the offense is run first. They need to establish a running game in Denver. Don't have it to where he has to throw. Sometimes he holds the ball too long. And as he's getting older, he can't improvise like he used to when the play breaks down. Get a good running back in there. I think they do have a decent running back. Be run first and let him make plays, but limit that. He's getting older. And, so I think the Sean Payton move is the best move they could have made in Denver. Does it improve their chances of winning the NFC West? I think so. I think this move, if it goes like it's supposed to, I know they're better than Vegas. The Chiefs, of course not the Chiefs right off. I think they can beat the Chargers. I think there'll be some good games. I think with a coaching change and that they can get Russ back to what he was or what he can be, I think they can be number 2 in that division. They may even beat Kansas City on any given day in the division. but I definitely think it improves them in the NFC West. Now, when you say improvement, you could say from the bottom to a possible wild card team. I don't know if they beat the Chiefs yet, but I will tell you this. If Sean Payton is able to go in there and do what Sean Payton did with New Orleans, I think they're definitely contenders in the whole NFC. But I don't know, I think it's the best thing they could have done. I don't think it's a better coach for this situation.
I think when you think of sports nowadays, you say that it's a players' league. Players make all the decisions, and players can dictate who gets fired, who gets hired. Players come in there and they dictate the culture, depending on the sport, depending on where you're at. Then there's those coaches that I feel like are the leaders, are the GMs, are the ones who lead the organization. I think of names of Bill Parcells. I think of names like Andy Reid. I think of names like Greg Popovich, Spoelstra, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley. And I definitely want to say, I think that what's his name is the guy for Denver. Yeah. He is the man for Denver. Right. I think that his track record with the Saints, Sean Payton, wherever he has gone, he has won. But I also think there's other things about him that stand out. When Andy Reid left Philly and he went to Kansas City, one of the best offensive minds. When he went there, when he went to Philly, he had McNabb. After McNabb, I think he had a little bit of Foles. And even before McNabb, I forgot who it was before there. It might have been Cunningham. He might have been there that long for Cunningham to be there.
I don't know. He may. I don't know.
I can't remember. Was he?
I don't remember, but he could have been.
Michael Vick. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Michael Vick. Then he goes to Kansas City and he has Alex Smith. Alex Smith does his thing. And Alex Smith was a good quarterback even when Mahomes took over. Then you had Mahomes. And now you go to now you got Sean Payton. He took Drew Brees when he left Miami and wasn't even doing anything with his career. Right. Turned him into what I think the second all-time leading passer in the sport. Won a Super Bowl. And I think what he's gonna bring to Denver is creativity. He's one of the most creative coaches. That I think he could take a team with average receivers and turn it into a decent offense because he's just so creative. He's a mastermind when it comes to that. But he holds people accountable. He comes in there with a strategy and plan. I don't think that everyone comes equipped knowing exactly what they want, what type of player they want, what they're looking for. And he comes in there with culture. Right. Some people create culture. He comes in there with the culture. And now you have to fit in. Otherwise, he's going to bring the pieces to fit in. I think that's what that interview that he said, that he's going to use the talents of Wilson. And he's going to build off that, scaffold that, and take all those plays that he's used to, those play action plays, and he's going to start building off that. And I think that's where a lot of coaches miss. They don't do those little things like that. They assume that, I could make them, turn them into the player I want them to be. No, you take their talent, you build on their talent.
Talked about that earlier.
Work little by little, you work on their weaknesses. And I can see that's how he's going to work with them. Right. And I think that, and this is my bold prediction. My bold prediction is that they will win that division next year. Because I don't think they're far off when it comes to talent. I always thought they had one of the best defensive teams out there, but they also already have a set of receivers that are great.
Judy,
I just think they were mismanaged. You have Sutherland, you have Judy, you have a running game with Devontae from North Carolina. You already had Gordon, but I think Gordon's gone. But they already have the talent there, and they're also going to have top draft picks. So my prediction is that they take the NFC West.
Which could happen. And just to add to that, and when you said that brought up, that's a great point.
Cornerbacks are top of the game.
Right. And the thing is, that's why I say I give Denver a lot of credit because, you look at what he did in New Orleans, particularly on the offensive end. He established identity. And I believe when Drew Brees got there, I think he was a backup in San Diego. I think he was behind Drew. I think he was behind what's my man? Did Phillip Rivers take his job? He was behind somebody in San Diego, and they decided, I think they decided to bring him out to New Orleans because he wasn't playing in San Diego. He was a backup. He was with the Chargers. I remember that. And I don't know if it was Rivers or somebody else that was in front of him, but Sean Payton, I think he was behind it. I might be wrong. I can't remember who brought him to New Orleans, who was the coach. But Sean Payton was able to look at Drew Brees, who was an undersized quarterback, much like Russell Wilson, and he was able to bring him in and establish, like you said, a system that fits his strengths and hides his weaknesses. And he turned it into an offensive juggernaut down there. I remember Drew Brees he set records for yards and everything. So I actually think that Russell Wilson probably had a better start in the NFL than Drew Brees. So I think it's perfect because I think what other coach other than Andy Reid would you not want to bring in on the offensive end, number one, to get an undersized quarterback to play at his highest peak? And Russell Wilson can do that. That's why we were so disappointed what happened when he went to Denver, because it seemed like he fell off. But the offensive end, and again, like you said, I even think he's got more in Denver than what he had when he started in New Orleans to work with. I think in New Orleans, he had to do a whole facelift with that team, offense and defense. So I think now going to Denver, just to go a little bit off your point, going to Denver, they're established on defense. They've got pieces. They just got to get the quarterback right.
Yeah.
And I think he's not afraid to, if it doesn't work, if Russ doesn't do what needs to be done, I think he's not afraid to go in another direction and be successful. So I think it's a perfect move.
I wouldn't even be surprised if we bring someone in like Jameis Winston to play backup.
Exactly. I echo that. I agree. All right, Tom Brady retires today. Is he the greatest to ever play? Why or why not? 251 wins, 15 Pro Bowls, 7,753 completions, 89,214 yards, 649 touchdowns, 7 Super Bowls. Is he the greatest to ever play? I think he's the greatest of this era. And I've been on record, and I'll say it again. I don't have him as the greatest of all time. And my reasoning behind it is this. It has nothing to do with him. For me, Tom Brady is able. Okay, let me give you the positives before I go to the negatives as to why I don't think he's the GOAT. For me, he's arguably the GOAT because of one thing. To me, one thing I've always valued about Tom Brady, and I think one of the reasons that adds to his greatness, is he doesn't turn the ball over. And for a quarterback who cannot really scramble, when I really watched him, I watched him in New England, but when I really watched this Tampa Bay Super Bowl, what I saw with him, I'm going, man, he's not athletic, but he values possession. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback other than Peyton Manning in the time that I've been watching who values possession. And if you can do that, you always give your team a chance to win. Also, I came to a revelation when he went to Tampa Bay. When he left New England, many people wanted to give Belichick credit. When he left New England, they were never the same. So for what he didn't do for me on the field physically, he brought the intangibles there. And I'll even go out on the record and say Belichick is a great coach, but I seriously believe that it was more of Tom Brady as to why they won so many times. And that's not to take anything from Belichick, but I thought it was all Belichick because Brady was not a great athlete, But the flip side to it for me is he's not the GOAT for me simply because for two reasons. For one, I can't see you as the greatest of all time for this particular reason. And this is, and some people say, well, Bake, that's not a fair criticism of him, but I have to stick with it. One of my things, and we'll talk about this when Jason's gonna have an episode where we talk about GOATs. What should be the criteria for greatest of all time? For me, one of my criteria is if I take this player out of this era and put him in another era, does he do the same thing the same thing that he's doing in this era? I'll go to the Knicks. Patrick Ewing will always be in my conversation as one of the greatest centers of all time. Now, I'm biased to Akeem because of H-Town, but the thing about Patrick Ewing, if you look at his body of work from Georgetown to even the Knicks, and what slowed Patrick down was injuries. But if I take Patrick Ewing out of his era, which is in the 90s, and I put him in the 80s and the 70s, Patrick Ewing still does what he does in those eras. And I'm talking about in the era of Kareem and Wilt, Patrick Ewing still gets his, I still think he does what he did. That's why he's going to always be in a conversation of one of the best centers of all time, to me. With that being said, if I take Tom Brady out of the era of football that he played in, and remember this, the NFL went just like the NBA. In the time that Tom Brady was coming up, the NFL did its best to preserve its quarterbacks, meaning that you could not hit quarterbacks without getting a fine or thrown out of the game. And I understand, you know, the NFL, much like the NBA, has gotten behind the offense. We want to sell tickets. We want to score touchdowns. Just like in the NBA, the offensive players ruled the league, right? Curry, Harden for a while. You're seeing guys scoring 60, 70 points more often because the NBA got behind the offense. I feel the same way about the NFL. And so if I take Tom Brady out of this era and put him in the era of the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, when you could hit quarterbacks, I don't think he has as much success. And I don't think he wins this many Super Bowls and I could be wrong about that, but and people need to realize this. He doesn't play this long if he's allowed to get hit.
I agree.
So is he the best of his era? Yes. There's nobody in his stretch of years that played better than him. But to say he's one of the greats of all time, I can't do it. And here's the thing. How can I call him one of the greats of all time if on 3rd and 5, he's not a threat to a defense other than his arm? And some people say, well, that's why he should be because he couldn't run. Yeah, but again, you're in an era where you can't hit quarterbacks. I mean, think about this. If Tom Brady is playing for the New England Patriots when you playing in the time of Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, where these guys could actually load up on a quarterback, I don't think he makes it. And I say that going back to the Super Bowl that Seattle did beat them with the Legion of Boom. See, I feel like Seattle beat them because Seattle just said, whatever, we'll take whatever penalty or whatever fine. We're just going to hit it. He don't like to be hit. If you ever watch him get hit, he throws fits how many times have he been hit the way he didn't want to be hit? And he turns to the ref and he yells and they throw a flag.
They even broke his leg one season. He lost the whole season.
Exactly. So and let me say this. I'm gonna let you spin on this. One of the reasons that you we talked about this. One of the reasons that you and it's a fair point, and I'll apply this point to Brady. We talk about LeBron, and you say, well, you know what? He's been playing since high school. He's got longevity stats. That's why his numbers are so high. I understand that. I feel the same way about Brady. It's just that Brady has been allowed to play this long because he hadn't had to take that much punishment. Now, great offensive lines. He gets the ball out quick. I get it. But he played in the era where they tried to preserve the pocket passers as much as they could. So for those reasons, I can't put him. What I see in my eyes, he's the best of his era, but I can't put him in as a GOAT. I just can't. Not the greatest of all time. And that's not his fault, by the way.
So I want to one stick it and say that, because a lot of people try to say he's the greatest of all time football player. I totally disagree with that notion.
Definitely.
I think he's the greatest winner of all time. I can't say he's the greatest quarterback, to me, in my opinion, because I've seen too many great quarterbacks that had different type of talents and skill sets that I feel like if they were playing for New England, could have easily won championships. You look at Dan Marino.
Great point. Great
point. John Elway.
Right. Great point.
You look at Warren Moon. You look at Steve McNair.
Great point.
Each one had different things that they were skillful and great at.
Right.
And then when you think of greatest all time, you start thinking of talent. Then I start thinking of, Deion Sanders. He's changed the game for cornerbacks.
Right.
I look at LT. He changed the games for linebackers.
Right.
I look at Barry Sanders. I've never seen a running back do the things that he's done.
And all those guys you just named, you could put them in any time of football and they do what they do.
Exactly. And when I see Barry Sanders, and then I look at someone like Bo Jackson, whose career ended early because of hip. But the stuff that Bo Jackson was playing baseball game in the day, coming back in the afternoon to play a football game at night, and then jumping over people, running through people. Like,
imagine Bo Jackson in this time.
Exactly. He was the LeBron James of freaking football back then.
Exactly.
And so I can't say that he's the greatest all time, but I can say he's the greatest winner of all time because it's evident. Who has 7 championships? Who has 7 championships? Who have 7 Super Bowls? And who you could say was really the main cause or the main cause to winning the championship?
The only thing I say to that's a great point, but the only thing I say to that is it's just too many allegations of cheating.
That too.
Film practices. Because if you're great, you don't have to do all of that.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he knew he's playing a football game with flat footballs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joe Montana didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Manning didn't even do that. So, yeah, you're right in a sense. If we're going off pure record and what he accomplished, I get it.
Because
right.
it goes back to the conversation of even the NBA. Is Jordan the best because he's the greatest winner of all time?
Right.
Or is LeBron the best because he's probably going to lead the league with every record or top 3 in every single record when he leaves?
Right.
But he's also probably the greatest athlete in NBA history for the stuff that he's done, the longevity, the health, all those things. But then again, you can start saying, well, Jordan never took days off. He never had rest games.
Right.
Kobe never had rest games. LeBron had rest games.
Right.
So it's a lot of stuff that comes into play when it comes to saying who's the greatest of all time. I will just say he's the greatest winner of all time because I don't think he was ever more talented than Peyton Manning of his era. And we could just talk about the people in his era. I don't think he was better than Peyton Manning.
Right. I don't think he's better than a lot of quarterbacks. Now he won more, but I don't think. I don't think he was better. He's not. Rodgers was a more talented quarterback.
He's not better statistically. He's not better than Drew Brees. I don't think.
Right, Drew Brees. That's another one.
And the only reason why I think he recently passed Drew Brees is because Drew Brees retired and he didn't even have to.
Right, and he didn't play as long as. Right, he didn't play as long as Brady.
Yeah, and some of those championships, I was like, if you put Aaron Rodgers with Belichick, I think he might even open up that offense a little bit more.
I agree. Even the criticism that I said about Rodgers, I agree. Yeah. All right, let's switch over to the NBA. 2 more topics and we're done. RJ Barrett was benched last night talking about the Lakers game. and declined to speak with the media after the game, which is, I didn't know that. That's big. Is this the beginning of the end of Coach Tibbs now that fan favorite RJ seems to be growing impatient with this role? Now, and I was about to say that. You're in New York, you see what's going on. This is an excellent question. By you asking that question and you attributing RJ's frustration to Tibbs, is there something you can tell the audience tonight that makes you feel that way? Now, I know we know that you made it publicly known and you're in New York, you have a better sense of the team. Is there something there, and it sounds like it is there something there that makes you feel like there's tension between the team and the coach? Because at the end of the day, this question, the way you word it, you know, RJ declining to speak with the media, which means there's some frustration there. And usually when players do that, one of the main reasons why they do that is they weren't happy with what went on with the game in terms of playing time, or a situation where they thought they should have been in, or a coach should have ran this play, they should have got the ball, all those reasons. It sounds like in this question that there's a growing frustration with the coaching. Tell us why. Well, first, am I right about that assessment?
Yeah, you're definitely right about the sentiment. And I'm
Right.
going to give you some context. I think it all started last year. We all know that the year before we made the playoffs and we weren't supposed to make the playoffs, Randall was an all-star. And then last
I
year,
think he was most improved that year.
yeah, most improved and second team All NBA actually. And then last year he did the whole thumbs down thing, told the fans F you. Had a bad season, even though his bad season wasn't a bad season.
Really
2010-5 isn't really a bad season, but for New York standards, it's a bad season.
Right, definitely.
But the issue is that the coach wasn't holding him accountable. Now, all of a sudden, RJ's always been that player. He starts off slow, about 30 games, so he'll play below average, and then he'll get a hot streak where he brings his average up to 20 a game. And recently, he's just started playing a little bad. He started last night's game, I think, 1 for 7, and then at one point was 1 for 9. And then he came into the fourth quarter. I think he hit his first 3 shots, and then Tibbs pulls him out. Tibbs haven't played Evan Fournier much this year. He hasn't played Derrick Rose much this year. Cam Reddish was doing well, hasn't played him much this year. Preferred to go with Grimes, who's probably been shooting 28% the last 10 games, has been playing horrible. And early in the season, Tibbs was talking about being accountable. You eat what you catch. You play hard, you play the right way, stay ready. Next man up, if you're not performing, but he's not holding everyone to the same standard. He didn't hold Randall to that standard when he didn't bench him at any point last year, even when he cursed out a assistant coach during the game, in the middle of the game last year, you didn't get benched. And now all of a sudden, RJ's like, hey, you benching me and I've always done things right. And don't get me wrong, RJ's been slacking this year. His defense, everything's been off. But the reason why I brought that question up is because the one thing that I feel about Tibbs is that I feel the game has passed him by sometimes.
And you've said that a lot of times,
yeah.
right?
He's that old school coach who doesn't make adjustments. And that's one of the things that the fans are saying. He's like, he doesn't make adjustments throughout the game. It's like he sticks to the same rotation no matter what it is. Like last night, Obi Toppin caught fire, was doing his thing. And since he pulls Obi out at, let's say, the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter, he pulls him out at the 9. No matter if he hit 5 shots in a row, he's on fire. He takes him out at the 9-minute mark. And that's kind of his thing. Like, he only knows how to coach the way that he coaches, and he doesn't come with no adjustment. He's been going under on the 3. He likes to clog the lane. That's the way he plays. He doesn't adjust and starts playing the 3 because he's getting killed by the 3. We're going to win by rebounding. We're going to win by defense. Offense is last. We play ISO offense. No one ever cuts. Randall just stands there. If he's not having the ball, if he's not going to set up the screen to get the ball, Randall doesn't move. And everyone's just tired of it. We feel there's no accountability with him, and it's just time for a change of a coach. And he's been like that everywhere he goes. He runs his players ragged. You could be down 15 and he plays you to the last minute of the game. When he knows the game is out of hand and you have a game tomorrow, you're playing a doubleheader, and then he'll play you 40 minutes again. There's been games where he's only played 7, 8 people this year, and you have Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, and Derrick Rose, who you can't tell me, and I like McBride. I like his hustle, but McBride is not better than all three of those players. There's no reason why those three players shouldn't be getting playing time.
And you've expressed your frustration with that. You've been very vocal about that. And, at first I thought you were being a little bit brash because I know how, of course, in New York City, you guys, everybody can't play there. You're expected to win. You're expected to contend for a championship. And that doesn't necessarily mean going to the NBA finals, but you guys, I mean, it's the Mecca, it's the Garden, so not everybody can play there, but not everybody can coach there as well. And I'm starting to lean your direction as far as Tibbs, because the thing about Tibbs is much like I told you, like Van Gundy, they're very old school. They don't believe in young players. And I think that's an issue especially when there's other coaches out here who are winning with young players, less talent than the Knicks. Now, the problem I see is that, well, maybe it's not a problem, but here's the thing. I think it's time. I think it's time for the Knicks to move on from him, because I think Tibbs, and we talked about this on this podcast, I think Tibbs falls in the role of that good coach. And what I mean by that is being able to take y'all out of the cellar of the Eastern Conference, and now y'all a playoff team, But what he's shown so far as a coach is that he's not that guy to get y'all over that hump for y'all to contend with the Bostons, with the Bucks. And when I say contend, I think y'all can beat them on any given night. But in a 7-game series, he's not a coach that, for one, I don't think he makes good adjustments. For two, he's not a coach that can get everything out of his bench or young players. He's showing that he's stuck to a 5 or 6 man rotation, 7 at the best. And so in an NBA series, you can't have a playoff series that's stuck to this is what it's going to be. You have to have a coach that can make adjustments. I think he's a good coach, and I think if he wants to continue to coach in the NBA, I think he's either goes to a place that's not winning and establishes that culture, or I think best case scenario too is that he's an assistant coach and you put him in charge of your defense.
Yeah. And my issue with him is that I think that for an organization who wants to build young, I felt like he's the wrong dude.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I feel like if I'm a agent, I'm not sending my player there.
Right. And again, that's to add to that, that's what I was telling you about. I don't know if it's James Dolan, but it's management. You guys have always seemed like you've had talent, but it's like when it comes to coaching or a little thing, it's like, man, why would they bring that guy in? Or you have the right coach, but you don't have him with the right players. I think D'Antoni was like that for you guys for a while. I think D'Antoni was the right coach, but I don't know if they put the right players to fit D'Antoni's system.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? So
I felt like this team fits D'Antoni's
right,
system.
exactly.
So like he would take Cam and he would turn Cam with Brunson.
Exactly.
He'll be creative. He'll have Obi Toppin like Amari Stoudemire.
And that's what I was telling you all those years when we were in school up to now. I think that's why you guys weren't winning. It's like you have the right players, but you don't have the right coach. You have the right coach, but you don't put the right players. And so, the thing about Tibbs is that, he had some success. He created some buzz. Particularly, I think about that year when, like I said, Randall became the most improved and y'all went to the playoffs, and Randall overachieved. He was an all-star. But really, for what you got now, it doesn't work with a rigid coach like Tibbs.
Yeah.
It was like it. I always compare it to when Van Gundy came down here. When Van Gundy came down here to Houston, we were the post Elijah One era where we brought in Steve Francis, Cuttino Mobley, Michael Dickerson from Arizona, Kelvin Cato, Maurice, what was the kid's name from Michigan? That was pretty good. I can't think of his last name. But we had a good young nucleus. And then when Van Gundy came down here, He brought Charles Oakley. He brought Charlie Ward. He brought Clarence Weatherspoon down here. And it was like, and he even said it on one of his telecasts that I think he kind of killed the young player spirit with Francis and all those guys because he didn't really like young players. You know, he didn't think they could play. And so it kind of just killed that post Elijah One era. We were building with Francis. We were building with Coutinho Mobley. You know, we had Moochie Norris. We had a good young team after Elijah One and all those old guys left. And then Van Gundy comes in and he brings all these older guys down. Well, he kind of ran off the young guys, you know? And so it's just kind of like, damn, we had a future. But Van Gundy is not a guy that likes to develop young talent. And I think Tibbs is the same way. I think Tibbs is a defensive coach on a successful team. Now, if you bring in Mike D'Antoni and you let Tibbs be the defensive guy with the guys y'all got now, yes. Thank God y'all got Bronson. You know, thank God that Randall's playing well. You know, I do think that RJ has a spot on that team.
I don't think he fits well with Randall. I think the spacing, I think if you have to offset their minutes in order for RJ to be effective. Because
right,
Randall's going to be effective regardless. Randall's going to take his shots because Randall's already knows I'm the alpha dog.
RJ, I think it comes down to the right coach. I still think he can play with you guys. I just think the right coach, much like Cam Reddish, I think the right coach gets the best out of him.
Yeah, I think Cam Reddish can play with us. I'm a big Cam Reddish fan. I actually think it's going to be the biggest mistake is having Tibbs here because I think that any other coach would have brought the best out of Cam Reddish.
Cool. All right, let's go to one more question and then we'll wrap it up. We'll talk about the NBA free agency next week.
They're saying that before you do that, Cam went to an assistant who told Tibbs, and Tibbs is holding a grudge because I guess Cam went to an assistant and told him that he wasn't like how he was being used by Tibbs. And Tibbs, ever since then, he hasn't played.
We don't know the reports. Right, we don't know what happened after that. But I mean, in my case, if that's what happened, then why not bring the kid in and talk to him?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not playing. Tell him what he's not doing.
I think you're just doing a team a disadvantage by playing. And no disrespect to McBride, because I like McBride. He's a hustler. But I feel like McBride is not Cam.
Right.
McBride is not Rose. Right. And McBride is not EF. I don't care how much defense you bring, you still don't bring as much value as that offense would bring.
And then let's be honest, man, on any other team with a decent coach, does McBride play in front of Cam Reddish? No.
Nope.
Just from a pure
talent. Traded a first round pick. You traded a first round pick and you got a second round pick playing in front of Cam.
Just in the pure talent aspect. No, that's crazy. But, you know, we'll see, man. The thing about it is it all comes down to management with you guys. Sometimes, man, and again, like I said, management look at it. Y'all gonna make the playoffs. So management may be looking like, he's doing a good job. You know? But we'll see. But let me ask you this last question and then we'll wrap it up for the night. This past week, and I'm saying last week as in the last week of January, last week. And I thought this was big to bring up, but Damon Leonard was the Western Conference Player of the Week with the following numbers. Check this out, man. This is crazy to me. 42.3 points a game, shooting 63% from the field, 51.4% from the three-point line, 7.7 assists. Now, in that stretch of when he averaged this, check out his numbers. In the last 10 games, he's had 50 points, 36 points, 40 points, 44 points, 25 points, 24 points, 37 points, 60 points, 30 points, 42 points. My question to you is,
you probably already know my answer too.
He's still playing at a high level. Does he need to get out of Portland?
I would love to see him leave, but I also don't think I respect him for not leaving because I'm old school. I like the fact that Reggie Miller stayed, that Patrick Ewing stayed,
Right. Right.
Isaiah Thomas stayed. You know, all these players stayed. I think Portland needs to be creative or take a risk and make a huge trade. You got Jeremy Grant and Simons right now. This is an opportunity for you to say, you know what? This dude is injured a lot. Well, yo, Lakers, you want to come off AD? Because I think at the point in his career right now, what LeBron is not doing, Lillard can still do. And this is what I've been telling you. LeBron can get you the points that you need. LeBron can give you 30-something a game, triple-double, whatever. But he's not the LeBron that can take over games like Lillard can. So if the game is close, if you can tell me you got Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis is going into the fourth quarter, you playing Golden State, and there's 5 minutes left, as good as Golden State is, if there's 5 minutes left, I feel like for 5 minutes, what's the name can score every single time down, Lillard. And that's the type of thing that I'm talking about. Like, when you have LeBron James, he's not doing that anymore. But Lillard just needs that one piece that can get him to that last 5 minutes. And he's never had that his whole entire career.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you in a sense of, I do think that's a good pickup for Portland. But I'm gonna disagree with you on that, on the LeBron thing, because, and I'll give you the reason why. I agree with you. I agree that works in Portland simply because of this. What the Lakers are struggling with now, and I think this is, and I've said this to you before, what the Lakers are struggling with now, the reason why they're not winning is because that team is built for Anthony Davis to take most of the shots. Now, it's easy to say that what LeBron is doing is not an impact. I get that, but I still don't agree with that because, again,
it's an impact. I just don't think.
Well, but again, the impact, you got to remember this, that impact that you're talking about that LeBron doesn't bring, he has to do that to give them a chance to win. That team is built, the success of that team is built on Anthony Davis being there. He's in the #1 spot.
No. That part I get. That part we in 100% agreement with. The part that I'm talking about is when we get to the end of games and it's the last few minutes and you know you need a shot and you know you need to go
But that's what I'm saying. The ball is supposed to go to Anthony Davis. That's what I'm saying. That's my point. So if LeBron does do it, they don't win because it's not designed. It's designed for Anthony Davis to take that shot. I.e., that's why I think it works in Portland, because what I'm saying to you is, to me, Anthony Davis fits with Damian Lillard because I feel Anthony Davis is a #2 player. Why?
I agree. Okay.
Because he's always injured, and he's shown you that he's not that guy that's not going to be there every night. And I think you don't build a team. I think he's still looking over his shoulder saying to LeBron, take over, when the team is built for him to take over.
So you'll say that LeBron's no longer a #1 anymore.
No, I never said LeBron was a #1. Okay. The problem with LeBron James that you have, and a lot of people have, and I said this 1,000 times, he has the talent to do it, and he can do it. But that is not what he wants to do. I keep telling you that. Like, why? And here's the thing.
Remember that Detroit game? You remember that Detroit game where he scored like 40, what was it, 39 straight points, 38 straight points?
Yeah, but here's the thing.
He's not him anymore, is what I'm trying to say.
No, but Gerard, the numbers don't say that. The numbers say he's still playing at a high. That's what I'm saying. You can't ignore the fact that he's still scoring 39, 40 points a game.
But not in chunks when you have to have it.
Yeah, because the team is not designed for him to do that. He's doing it to give them a chance to win the game. I'm gonna tell you this, and that's what I don't understand about people. Like, people got to remember this about LeBron James. It's frustrating because he has the physical tools to do it. But why do we give LeBron James mindset, the way he plays the game, is similar to Magic Johnson? So why do we not criticize Magic? Magic didn't take the last shot. He could have. He had the talent to, but his mindset was to pass, to make the best pass. LeBron James is the same. And that's what I'm telling you. They built that team around it. I'll give you another illustration. And you're going to say this is not fair, but I really truly believe this. When the Lakers were winning, Magic ran the offense. Who took the last shot? It was Kareem. It was Kareem. And it worked because Kareem was there. It worked because Kareem would make the last shot. It's the same way the Lakers built that team, the same way that they tried to build this team with LeBron and AD. The problem is AD is not Kareem, and the Lakers thought he was. He has the talent. He has, when he's there doing what he's supposed to do, they win.
I ain't gonna lie. Every single time I see him get hit, I think he's going down for the season.
Exactly. And so that's why I say I go back to what you were saying about Portland. I think that's great because I think Dame Leonard can be the number one guy, but I also think the problem with Dame Leonard is he's so loyal, but Portland has never given him somebody like Anthony Davis, a Robin to his Batman, because that's what he needs. They had it with CJ McCollum, and it was successful to a certain extent, but when they got to the Western Conference that year in the finals and they got swept, you got two guards doing that, and that's hard to do with two guards. And so, again, I go back to your Portland thing. Like, I think that's a great, because I think Anthony Davis, I don't think he's got the talent to be the number one guy. But at the end of the day, that's not who he is. And the Lakers, to me, are not winning because of their number one guy. It's not a number one guy, you know. And LeBron James agreed to come to LA. Remember, Magic got him there. He agreed to come to LA, and he said, they asked him, who do you want? He says, I want Anthony Davis, because he wants Anthony Davis. He thought Anthony Davis could be that number one guy. It's kind of like when Shaq went to, I don't know if you watched the Shaq thing on HBO, but Shaq said when he went to Miami, he went to D Wade. He said, listen, I came over here to help you win a championship. But in order for us to win, you have to be the number one guy. I can't physically do it no more like I used to. Now, I can be there. I can be the number two. I can be Robin to you. On some nights when you need that extra scoring from me, I can do that. But I can't carry a team no more. You know, and I think that's what Anthony Davis is. I think Anthony Davis would be a perfect Robin to Dame Leonard. You know, I think Dame can still do it, but I think Dame, his issue is he's always needed that extra help, and it hadn't been there. Now they were trying to push that with LaMarcus Aldridge, but it didn't work. You know, they tried to put LaMarcus Aldridge in that number one spot. He did well, but he's not a number one guy. You know, so I you know, that's why I say I think Anthony Davis goes to Portland. That takes the pressure off of him. He's not in LA. Portland will love him there, you know, and then he can fall into that on our average 20 points a night. When you're not there, some nights I'll give you 40 if need be. But no, I do. I think he's a number two guy, and I think it actually could work in Portland. That's actually a great idea by you. Like, get him out of there.
Yeah.
Get him out of there and send him to Portland.
I mean, the issue with the Lakers now is that I personally think they got to make a decision on AD or LeBron, because you could get pieces for both. is if you keep them both too long, you're gonna end up like the Knicks rebuilding for the next 10 years, especially in the West. You got John Morant, you got so many teams that are young, Denver, and all these teams that are gonna be there for you. You got the Kings coming up. You got all these teams that are gonna be great for a while, and they're gonna put themselves in a position where you're gonna try to trade AD. Ain't no one gonna give you anything for AD. You're gonna try to trade LeBron, and then you're also gonna be stuck in that late lottery situation because you're gonna keep winning because you got LeBron and AD. So you're kind of like the Knicks. You're like you're in purgatory.
You caught in the middle.
Right. You have to make a move.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I think it's been real. I think we should wrap it up there. I think your playoff conversation, we talk about that next week because that's
we can talk about that with the trade deadlines next week.
Right, exactly. That's why I think it's perfect for next week. Well, it's been real, man. From Mo City to New York, we'll catch up next week and do it again. Want to thank Cole. Want to thank y'all for tuning in. Want to thank Jay Campbell for tuning in with Debate Podcast. You can stream this on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Please follow Mo Serious Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to Mo Serious Entertainment on YouTube. Catch you next week on Debate Podcast. Again, want to thank Cole, Jason Campbell. Great discussion tonight, fellas. Great debate. And we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.